I'm Nick Von Walkerbarth, and you're listening to the VonDubCast. If you don't want to listen to me gap in the intro and you want to skip right to the interview, skip about 6 minutes. But before you do, please consider doing one of these couple things that really helps out the show. Following the social medias for the VonDubCast, subscribing, and leaving a review. If you could do those things, that'd be awesome. Also, give me a subscription on the YouTube channel. That'd be great too. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 28 of the podcast with Travis Malbeuf, one of my best buds growing up. And I hope this is the first of many. Also got another really fun one coming up with one of my other best friends, Drew Discover. And these are really fun interviews to do. Lots of laughs. I walked out of this one with my guts absolutely hurting. Like I could barely contain myself. Some of the stories that come up on this podcast had me just busting a gut. I hope you guys enjoy them just as much. I hope they're not too inside stories that make us laugh and aren't too funny to you, but I don't think they are. I think you guys are going to really enjoy that. Told the story of when Travis broke his leg, and then Travis went out the next weekend in between the time we recorded this episode and the time it's coming out, and broke his arm in a similar yet a little bit different fashion. So I hope we didn't jinx it and that was our fault that we brought that up. But we told lots of stories of how we used to go out sledding and quadding and all these types of things, getting into trouble on the weekends when we were in grade 6 or 7, sneaking out of the house and causing shenanigans. I can't even remember all the stories that come out here, but I think you guys are going to really enjoy them. Talked about his growing up on the farm, kind of what Travis was like before I knew him, how his moving impacted Slave Lake and our high school and our just little group there. It was kind of interesting. I don't think I'd ever really thought it through how much, because I think Travis and his brother were both quite popular kids, and I think they kind of brought a little bit of a new flair to the school and were kind of trendsetters. And it's funny to think back on stuff like that when you're kids and just how everybody doesn't know who they are and is just looking for anybody breaking the mold to kind of model yourself after whatever's cool. And it was funny to kind of look back and have a few laughs at how silly we used to be and kind of just see how far we've grown. And now Travis has a kid on the way, and it was really fun to talk to him about that, see how mature he's gotten to be so calm about the whole thing and so excited and not nervous in the least, unless he was just completely bullshitting me. But, I got to sit across from him and I know him quite well, and he seemed to be really honest about it. And I think he is just genuinely excited, and I think he's going to be an absolutely amazing dad. And I'm excited to watch that journey unfold and to document this time of getting ready to have a kid and to see where his mindset's at. And I'm sure I'll have him on in the future too, to give us a little bit of an update of how it's going once he does have a kid and that whole thing. So yeah, I think you guys are going to really enjoy this one. Loved the feedback I got on the Tyler Warman episode with the Mayor of Slave Lake. If you like this episode, you might want to check that one out. And like I said, I got a couple more Slave Lake episodes all locked up and in the can here that I'm really excited to bring to you. So also some really great feedback on that solo episode that I put out. It was I had so many people reach out, and it was kind of funny because I had recorded it at the time and I was a little bit not doing the best or whatever. And like I said, I felt amazing just getting that off my chest, and I felt so much better after that. And then 3 or 4 days go by and you release it and you have everyone reaching out to you at that time, and it's kind of like, oh well, like I appreciate all the feedback and everything people were doing to me, but I was in a little bit of a better place. But it is eye-opening. I think sometimes, especially with COVID going on, you feel a little more lonely than you are. You forget about all those impactful people that you meet along the way and that really care about you, and you just maybe don't see it all the time, but there's just so much behind you. And I think stuff like COVID really kind of makes you forget those things, and that was amazing for me to see everybody kind of come out of the woodwork and make sure that I was okay. And I really appreciated that, even if I was maybe doing a little bit better at that time, but it was still amazing and still really filled my heart. So thank you to everybody that reached out and all that. I really appreciate it. And other than that, I think we can jump right in the episode. Don't really need to do too long of an intro here, but like every week, if you could do the basics, I don't know what to call them, the things I ask for every week, following social medias for the VonDubCast, giving it a share every once in a while if you really like an episode, telling a friend. Word of mouth is how these things spread. Subscribing on whatever podcast app you listen to, that really helps. Going to the YouTube page, give me a subscription there. I know we're getting a little bit behind on getting episodes up, working on it. I know there's been a couple people have asked me because they like to watch it, and they said, hey, when's the video component's going to be coming out for these episodes? And we're working on it. It's not as easy as I thought it was when I first started this whole thing, but we are working hard in the background to make sure we're bringing those up, and we should be getting caught up here in the next couple days, couple weeks. So that's on the rise, and you give me a subscription there. That's about it. I hope you guys are all doing well. I know I say this every week, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows that what's going on right now is tough, and it's tough on everybody, and just to keep your head up and to not forget it like I do all the time, that it's an unprecedented time, and there's so many things that are happening that we have no control over, and that it's hard not to internalize and kind of put onto yourself. But like I say, it's always good to take self accountability and try and take things onto yourself as much as you can. But if you try and take a whole pandemic onto yourself, you're going to have a bad time. So just find that balance. I know it's kind of a conflicting message, but you got to do what you can for yourself. And I think that's just finding whatever it is that makes you feel better, that fills your cup, and make sure you prioritize that. If that's exercise, if that's alone time, if that's time with family, even if that's something that maybe a COVID rule prevents you from, really do the due diligence to see if that rule is worth breaking. If it's going to be what's going to be the difference between you being genuinely suffering and genuinely happy, maybe that rule is not for our best interest, or not for your best interest, and maybe it's worth it to break that. I think that's what everybody needs to do right now, and just not rely on people that don't really care about people to make the rules, and just allow you to live your life according to how they want you to. So yeah, other than that, please enjoy this episode, pass it on to a friend, and can't wait to see you guys on the next one. Bye. All right, exciting one today with one of my best buds growing up. Moved here. What grade were you in when you moved here?
Grade 6 I pulled in, yeah.
Oh, yeah, man, yeah. And that was, from my recollection of it, grade 6, most of our crew or whatever we were in high school, our little gang, were mostly in a couple classes, and you moved in, and you were the one kind of odd man out. You were in your own classroom, so we only got to kind of get to know you at the recesses and stuff, at the little interstitial classes. But really quick, you were part of the boys, and we were hanging out. It seemed like almost instantly, but I'm very curious. I don't think I've ever asked you about that process, because I never moved. I lived in this house
for sure
since I was a little kid, and I was always curious about that. And I've asked a couple people on the podcast about moving, and usually it's about moving, countries and stuff. But how was that for you? Was that your first move, or had you?
Yeah, that was definitely the first big move for sure. And like you say, there was more than one classroom for grade 6, which was really weird coming from a small town of, I don't know, maybe 500 people or so, just small farm town. Yeah. So to come there and there's 6 classes and you got all these kids the same age as you, it was definitely duck out of the water, or whatever that saying is there, for sure. So, but it was good at the same time. I still had my brother. Like, we moved here in the summertime. That was a little tough because it was just Kurt and I doing stuff and whatnot. Didn't really know anyone. So was more excited to get into school, meet some people, do the hockey thing and whatnot. So
like, how many months did you move before school started?
We were probably here like 2 months prior to school starting up. Yeah.
So what did you do for just you and Kurt? Just hanging out, bombing around town?
Yeah, we were Parkdale there, so we just went to Tags Park all the time. And shot the hoops, and we actually met some people there. That's where we met like Cody Burke and the skater crew, because they were old skater guys. So that's kind of where we tagged up with them. And there's even guys like the Greg Roy and those ones. Yeah.
Good times, hey. And it's funny to have your little summer crew, and then you roll into school and you get a whole different picture of
for sure
who everyone is and all that kind of stuff.
Here's some stories about people on who they really are and whatnot. Shocks you a little bit, for sure. But. And
then I guess you have September for school, and then pretty much tryouts are starting. And then hockey kind of takes over for the socialization, right?
Absolutely.
For both you and Kurt, both got to hop into that. It's funny because Kurt was actually supposed to be on the podcast before you were. Your brother there.
You'd almost think we're avoiding you or something like that.
Yeah, no, I know. It's so that's some of all the things I was kicking around before I started the podcast of what was going to be tough, like that organizational part of booking. Me and you have had it the last couple of days, bingo sure, bang going around, but everybody's got that. Everyone's so busy these days. It's hard to, and you don't want to, such a polite guy. I feel real bad, setting hard times. I'm always just whatever works for you and flexible.
For sure.
Man, does that get tough to make sure you line it up, and then you're getting yourself psyched up all day for a podcast after work at 5:30, and then they text you at 5:15. It doesn't happen. You're just that whole letdown of the whole day, right? It's it's quite the thing. I never envisioned that as being one of the biggest hurdles I'd have with this thing, but
for sure, you'd feel like guys would just flood in, but like you say, everyone's schedule is different. So
and I think it's a little bit intimidating. I mean, you can probably speak to that a little bit. I mean, it's a lot to ask of somebody to come on here and put it out. It's not that many people are listening to it, and that's what I tell people. It's a couple people listening. It's just a bullshit, but I do have respect for that. If I know what I'm asking of people, I know that's not an easy ask. That's why I'm so trying to be overly flexible about it and nice, because I know it's such a big ask. If I'm going to be a prick about the time and the flexibility and how long we go, I'd feel real bad about it.
Right.
So, but it's so much fun. As soon as you sit down, you start bullshitting.
Yeah,
with
for
guys,
sure. Yeah, definitely got the jitters, and then it'll just ease in.
And I've found, especially with all the COVID stuff, you don't get to talk to many people. So this is just a gift to be able to sit down and have a bullshit, catch up with some people. There's so many people that I hadn't talked to in a long time. Just get to re-catch up on here.
For sure. Yeah, especially for you and myself, with you moving away, we kind of grew apart after high school and stuff. But it's still nice to sit down, have a chat, and we can still start from square one and just have a normal conversation, which is good.
Exactly. And it's nice for guys like you where we can just jump in. It's just like nothing ever happened, right? Like you say, you grow in different directions, you get doing stuff, but those people that when you've had those times together that we've had, back in the day, it's just another.
The stories will get flowing for sure.
Exactly.
They'll just play off each other, I'm sure.
I know. I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, oh, what good stories you got to tell, the saw to the hand and in the ball times with you and Philgate,
The old Pudurple.
Oh, man, hitting heads in class at one time, going to pick up a pencil, like, man.
Even walking into this basement, just memories flooding in with how many times we just did movies or rented wrestling.
Well, there must have been probably 2 months there, at least, I would say, and I'm completely guessing, but where me, you, and Philgate every weekend.
Oh, for sure.
And it probably went where there was like a month where it would always be at my house, right? Like we come here for a month, and then we go to your place for a month, and then we go to Philgate's place for a month. It was like just us three idiots, like the shit we got up to. Yeah, like renting a wrestling video game, playing down here. Like we killed a whole weekend doing that.
Easily,
The amount of inside jokes and shit that comes out of stuff like that, like which is so much fun. And that was something that I've got this response from people a lot when I ask them to come on the podcast. They just like, oh, I've listened to a couple episodes. It's pretty intellectual and like that intimidates some people. And I'm like, fuck, like that is definitely what I want to do, and I really enjoy that. But also, I'm a fucking goofball. I want to come on and have a few brews and just hang out with my boys and tell some stories, have some laughs. And I feel like I kind of pigeonholed myself a little bit into that. But I think because I have unlimited time to record more, I can take it wherever I want to, and do a little bit more fun ones. And I'm excited for getting a couple of the boys on, right? Like you, Phil,
you'd really have some stories bouncing around.
and that's the thing, especially once that's what I was thinking. This trip here to Slave, get a couple of the guys on to get a little bit of that mystique of it, the scariness of hopping on and doing it away. Because I think if you do that with you, Lance, Clinton, Drew, and then all have, so it's old hat you've been on before, and then bring back as a group. Man, I think that would be a pretty fun time.
Even some topics I'm sure you and I talk about, we could bounce off, like that'll get brought up or this or that. So it'd be good. Absolutely.
For sure.
Good times.
Yeah, I was recording with Tyler Warman yesterday and kind of going back into the fire and some of that stuff. And it was had me thinking, I was curious to ask you about this because, I mean, we're always having so much fun. We never talk about shit like that. But I remember during that time, that was one of the biggest things. I wasn't that affected, right? Like, we were very lucky with the fire. We didn't lose really anything. We just watched our friends go through it. And that was the only way that I impacted me. And I feel a little bit selfish about this because, like I was lucky I didn't get out, but I feel like it was tough to watch people I cared about like yourself go through that. And how was that? Cause you were grade 11, you're 16 at that time.
Yeah. I think that sounds about
16.
right.
Like, and, you look back on what it's like to be a 16-year-old, right? Like you think you know everything, but now when you have a couple more years, you look back, fuck, I was just, a little kid at that time to go through something that traumatic. How was that for you? Was that?
Yeah, it was tough. It's tough to like think back now just because it seems like it was forever ago, but
almost 10 years coming up on it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And even at the time, everything happened so fast. It was pretty crazy. And we were one of the families that were just not really on guard, didn't really expect it, because where we lived at the time was pretty much middle of town, is what I would call
dead center, pretty much.
In a cul-de-sac or whatever. So not expecting anything of it. But that day, I remember, I think we were driving around or something, and ended up going home, and our neighbor there, he was on the fire department.
Right.
And he came running up to our door. We're at home, as me, mom, dad, and Kurt, I think. And Steph was there too, actually. And he came running up to our door, super smoky, and he said, like, fire hit town. I had to leave my truck. Like, we got to get out of here now, sort of thing. Shit. And then still, we were just being naive, sort of thing. My dad was anyways. And he was taking his time, like pulling the garage door opener, the power out of it, because he didn't want to get looted or whatever. Just doing this and that. And all we literally grabbed was just a bag of clothes.
Pretty much,
we thought we were coming back to something, right? So when we did leave, I think we all ended up in Westlock there in a hotel and whatnot. Yeah. And Coots's were still around. And that time I was kind of friends with Ryan or whatever. I believe that's what it was. Or some picture surfaced of where Tags was. Yeah. And it would look like a bomb went off. Like the story's been told lots. But it literally looked like a bomb went off, and you could see right through to the highway. And you just know your house is gone at that point. And then reality sets in. Yeah, parents are hysterical or whatever. And
and that's a tough time as a kid, right? Like that's your sense of stability, your house, right? That's one. And then you can't blame them, but everybody's upset. There's so many people going through so many things, right? All you're looking for as a kid is some stability and someone just to say this is going to be okay. Yeah. But everyone was dealing with so much. There was not a lot of people around to give those it's going to be okays, right? And I feel like that was tough to watch, right? Because you see this, and the next after we were all in Westlock, that we kind of all were at the mall, and that was a couple weeks of that, and there was times where everyone's trying to be tough too, right? Like the people that didn't lose their houses were trying to be strong for the people that weren't, and everyone, and we were going to see movies at West Ed and that, but you could see that pain that people were going through, and that it, every once in a while you can't hide it for that long. It comes out, it breaks through, and I feel like that was so tough to watch. If just these people that you've grown up with and so well, just to go through something that painful, it was quite the experience. But I think after that, to watch how the community came together and what everything happened is very inspiring as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember one moment vaguely, or good, is when Clinton and I broke down in the mall there, and Clinton was there. And that's the one thing I'll never forget. It was late, like the mall was all shut down, and we were walking around.
Was that the bowling alley?
I think it was actually. Like
I think we were at the bowling alley, and I think me, you, and Clinton maybe went for a walk.
That's right.
After,
we were. Yeah, that's right. And broke down and whatnot. And that was the one thing I kind of remember. But other than
me too. I didn't want to bring it up, but I think I remember being at that bowling alley, having that conversation with you better than I remember most things about the fire, actually. Oh, geez. Because I feel like that was one of the things, and I think for myself was just, of all my friends, right? Like you were always, you didn't seem to be affected by a lot, right? Like I feel like, me, other than you'd get angry, but we never really got to see any other emotions, right? Like, and we're such goofballs, all of us, that we didn't really get to see that. And I feel like that was the moment that it all became real to me, because we hadn't been back to town. All we'd seen was pictures at that point. And to me, it's still, I hate saying this because it feels gross, but at the time you're a 16-year-old kid, but it almost felt like a vacation, right? Like all Slave Lakes and West Ed, we're going to see, Hangover Part 2. We're all drinking in the movie theater.
For sure.
And it was, and I feel like the reality of what it was hadn't set in until that conversation. I remember, a few of the things you were saying, just like, I know everything's gonna be okay, but all I want right now is just to be able to go home. Yeah. Like and it was to hear that, like, it just broke my heart. Like all you wanted was to go home, and you just said, like, and all my stuff, like, I don't have anything. And just to see somebody that has always been so strong, and just always, like, of all our friends, we'd never see you impacted by nothing. And then, almost the Superman of our group to be affected. It was tough to watch. Right. And I feel like that was where, this is serious. And then, a couple of days after that, we get to go back to town. Then it's hard not to take it serious once you get to see it, once you see the impact, once you roll into town and you're driving in, and you can see all the way halfway across town because everything's gone. That was real, but I feel like it hadn't become real till that point. And I feel like I was, I think I harbored a little bit of guilt with that, going past that, just those feelings of those couple weeks there where I was, having fun, strutting around town, the hot shit. You get all the attention of your town burned down, but I didn't have anything go wrong, right? I was unaffected. And
sure.
Yeah. So
I hear you loud and clear. Yeah. Now, like you say, now you look back, and obviously I couldn't imagine the stress my parents went through, because it was exactly like you said. We were just young kids, and we lost our stuff, but we didn't work our whole lives for a house, right? Or all the belongings inside of it, and take that for granted now, obviously. So shout out to my parents for dealing with it the way they did it. So
yeah, exactly. And that was, and I think that was another thing too. I mean, we talk about it, seeing our friend group, people need to be strong for other people, and it's a little bit different. But I think also for a lot of people, that was the first time seeing parents be in a position where they don't, to see your parents not know what to do is a different thing. And I feel like that was something that I didn't know. I feel like starting to work with my dad closer the last couple of years, that was one of the big lessons I learned is just, your dad's not perfect. There's certain things he doesn't know. And I feel like everybody knows that, but it's, even though you understand that, it's still hard to kind of shake that vision. You still find yourself slipping into that. And that was a big kind of realization. I feel like for a lot of people that went through that fire, that was kind of that moment for them of, and I feel like that's a scary time as a kid to, you kind of always, and not a lot of people have this safety net. People don't grow up in different situations where they've never had that, right? They've never had that everything's going to be okay moment. But you imagine people that have had that and you really depend on it and that's your safe space, and to lose that, like, fuck, that'd be, it'd be hard to not have the whole world be spinning after something like that, right?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And where do you go? What do you do? Where do you start?
And that's the questions they're asking. And to see them asking that question, it's nothing scarier, right? Like you've for the 16 years, you've never had to think about what's next, because you know that somebody's planned that out for you, right? And just for that to in an instant be gone and have to do it. And that's the thing. Like, your parents had a great plan. You got the motorhome out, and you guys were living up. Couple weeks later and couple weeks removed, where you kind of that rebalances, but just that couple week period of, we don't know what we're going to do in the planning. Once you have a plan there and you see a pathway forward, and this is what we're going to do, at least we know it might not be as enjoyable as what it was a couple months before, where you have all your house and all your stuff, but it's something, right? And I feel like that was
step in the right direction.
And I feel like the other part of it too was you weren't alone in it. There was other people going through it at the same time that you could kind of commiserate with, right? And that type of thing. But it was quite the experience. I don't think a lot of 16-year-old kids go through something like that. Hey,
for sure. And we were lucky, like mom and dad, they're one of the first ones kind of to rebuild after the fire. So I guess the upside happy part to that is they ended up getting a hot tub, and you can be as loud as you want. And not have to worry about pissing off neighbors and whatnot. So there's always
some good times there,
good to the bad for sure. So,
and I think also little highlight was that garage you guys got to build there. Man. Oh man, because me and you put some hours in that garage before it burned down, right? And then after it was like, once I had all the nice floors and the speakers and that. Oh, we
that
put
thing
in
was
some
a party
work.
shack from day one, prior to fire. Like, I remember a few parties where some guys got their head shaved and
some paddling there.
The Chuck Liddell was the hottest haircut at those parties. So
oh man!
Shout out to Keaton. I'm sure he'll remember that if he listens.
Oh, I forgot about that. Holy fuck!
He was one of the first ones to get it.
And you need those guys. You need those first against the wall guys. The first guy to get the mohawk, right? Sure. Those are important guys in the party crew. You got to have it. Without that, the fun never starts.
That's the hype right there.
Yeah, you need that. And I feel like that's something in this. I don't know if it's just this community or if this is everywhere, but I feel like we had those guys in droves. Like, there were so many guys. We could sit here for an hour and talk about all the different guys that were that guy at the party that were willing to do something crazy to make it fun for everybody else. And it seemed like that was that was almost like a valued thing around here, right? Like, if you were willing to do something crazy at a party to get it fired up, but like, it seemed like everybody would take turns, right? Like, Keaton did it at that party, but that was me at times. I've seen Drew standing on a giant blazing fire of pallets, dancing in his cowboy boots in the middle of a fire, like stupid shit, but it's,
just rallies. Rallies the people there, for sure.
Gets the people going. Man, good times.
No shit.
To think of all those fucking parties we had, and I feel like that was always the funnest part of drinking at your house also was having Kurt there and the boys, and then like in the later years having your dad there, like,
for sure.
It made it seem like I don't know, it almost made it more grown up, right? And you could have like a more of a grown up party and stuff, not like it was when no parents are around. If Claire comes up and has a couple of beers with the boys and just like actually you're forced to talk like adults and not be just idiots. And I feel like that was I feel like we all would have been different people if we didn't have a safe spot like that to do that, because I feel like when I went to university, you got to see people that have never had drinking, like they've never drank like an adult. They only drank like a kid. And I feel like
hidden and like hiding it.
And we did a lot of kiddie drinking as well. Don't get me wrong, right? Pittsburgh, all that crazy shit we did. We did that too. But we also had this other avenue that was a little bit different. I feel like that was also very important. I don't think we knew it at the time what we were doing, but fuck, did I get to see some kids come in that didn't have that, and the trouble they got in, and lessons they had to learn the hard way.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
Fuck, you want somebody to learn that kind of stuff, you know, in high school. And that's why it's always so silly, the drinking ages and stuff. Like, you need them there. Obviously they serve a purpose and you need that, but like, you also, for it to work well, you need to break those rules for it to work well, and not just have people go nuts at 18 like on their own. You need to have a little bit of bending of it. And that's so funny with some rules, like for them to work well, you need to break them almost, right? Like, which is you know, how I feel this COVID stuff needs to work, but with social media, it kind of shuts that down like that. Yeah. To my head, of all these restrictions they put in place, this would be great if people could break them reasonably, but now everyone's so scared of what's going to get thrown up on social media of it after and get demonized by it that nobody breaks them. So now these rules are way over the top, way too crazy, but nobody's willing to break them smartly, right? Like, which is the natural balance of things, right? Yeah. The speed limit's 100, but nobody fucking drives 100, right? Because it's reasonable, right? Like, but now you go to Australia and they pull you, if you were doing 101 in 100, they pull you over, right? So nobody speeds there, and it's drove us nuts, right? We're on the left side of the road cruising around there, and they told us, they said, like, be careful, like, you'll get pulled over, and that's how they do it. But you know, like, would I rather live with Australian driving rules or Canadian driving? Canadian, right? I want to be able to get where I need to go. I will take upon that risk. I love having that little bit of leeway, right? You can push it sometimes. I mean, Northern Alberta, we're the community that's known for you push that a little too far, you know, doing $150 down the highways in a snowstorm. Oh man!
To any cops that are listening, that's not true.
No, we never do that. That's Calgary. Calgary, down Southern Alberta. That's where all those feeders are. Go down there. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, good times, hey?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh fuck. So, what you been up to lately?
Not much. Work's been super busy. Yeah. Obviously, the biggest news is you got a little one on the way. So
that's so exciting. I definitely have some questions about that.
Yeah, I was really trying to hold off. I was going to do the announcement on here, but just the way things worked out, it was actually one of your podcasts I was listening to. I should have freshened up and remembered, but you were talking about like having a kid and like that time of the age and like all that sort of stuff.
And how important it is.
Connected so hard with that with excitement that I had to text you, and it was that day or right after that episode I texted you and said, got some news for you. So I think you were probably maybe the sixth person I told, including family.
Oh,
so
thanks. I appreciate that.
It was good, man. So that's the main thing for sure. And then, work's busy. And Jamie and I are also trying to sell our house. So just juggling that right now. Yeah. And
looking to just move into something more of a starter family home.
Yeah,
you're starting a family
something
kind of thing.
A little bigger, and obviously want to get out of town. It'd be nice to have a little acreage spot. Mitsu would be perfect for us. But
especially with all the stuff you love to do, right? Like quadding and skidooing and all that stuff. That was always right up your alley. I'm curious, was that kind of were you into quadding in that before you moved to Slave? Was that always something? Or was that kind of
just because we grew up on the farm. Like I remember we would drive quads when we were like 6 or whatever. We grew up on quads, so. Right. And then dirt biking was
that's where I was going. That's where I just wrote down dirt bike. Yeah. My impeccable notes here. Oh man.
I actually got into that from my uncle, my mom's brother there. Right. My grandpa actually built them a track on their farm, so I grew up on a dirt bike track around them.
So you had already been on a dirt bike track when we all got into it here a couple years later.
A little bit, yeah. I think the biggest bike we had on the farm was like a 50 or like a XR70 or whatever they are, but taking it seriously or whatever was first time up in Slave.
Because that was something, you know, I loved dirt biking. Like once we got into it, like that was another period of our life where there was a couple months there where every weekend we were up at that track, you know, after school and I was, you know, driving a dirt bike, you know, trail bike. And I tell people this story all the time. There's one end of one summer, we just kind of roll the bikes in and something doesn't seem right. And we look, every spoke on those fucking tires was
remember that, man.
Because like we're taking these things off jumps and I'm such a pussy. Like I am the biggest pussy of all time. So I'm not hitting any of these jumps and doubles like they're supposed to be. I'm just hitting it, doing a little bit of air and then casing every time. Yeah. I couldn't get the guts up. But that's what I wanted to ask you about. Like the thing that I really enjoyed dirt biking and just doing that of being the pussy on the track that moves over and lets everyone go by. Like I'm full hands up in the air. You caught me. That's me. I was that guy. Yeah. Cause I could never get over that fear of, you know, just cracking it and hitting it like how the jump's designed to be jumped. And I feel like, was that something that did you learn that on the farm? Like, were you already used to that when you went up to this track here?
No, not at all. It was, like I said, that was more just kind of bombing around farmers' fields and you hit the odd rut in the field or frozen cow shit or whatever.
Like you and Lance when Evans had plowed that big cut across through the field and we're coming back skidooing late at night and we didn't see it. Oh yeah. Or I knew it was there because it was right behind my house.
I'm sure that guy's seen it, man.
Were you driving or were you on the back?
Of them.
So we were coming back from a skidoo trip. I think what had happened was we were out in the boonies that day, and we were doing whatever, and it was kind of late getting back. I think we might have gotten lost, and remember we stopped on that bridge, or Lance or Maddie and Logan wouldn't let us go, and for some reason, me Snapshot, I was getting mad, right? Yeah. And like I don't know if anybody else would get mad, so we're kind of emotions are high when we leave there, and then we cut in and go down that yard, and I see Lance with you on the back on his old sled just bombing across this field, and I know that there's this 4 foot tall wall of ice, ramp,
greater
pretty much.
Wake, for sure,
greater wake. So I'm like, oh man, I don't know if you see that. And then I just see this headlight go way up in the air.
How do you say that? My back just starts hurting. It was.
My God,
it was a rough one. Lance and I got a lot of stories for that.
The both of you on that one sled, the amount of trips we did, and the amount of crazy shit. And the fact that you guys were on that, of all the sleds we had out with us, that was probably the one that most needed a single rider, right? Like it was probably had seen the most miles, was at least prepared for it. Like Maddie had a nice sled all the time and shit, but he's obviously going solo on that. So if you wanted to come along, you and Lance, and God bless Lance for always doubling, right? Absolutely. That was awesome. That's what kept the pack going. But man,
I could probably thank him for getting into sledding. We sledded so much just with those that that was something I fell in with, loving with too, and then just kind of grew from there as well. But there's some good times on those sleds. Holy man.
Well, if we're going to tell that story of Lance bucking you off, I think we should probably tell, that little fish pond out by my house that time. I think that was one of the first or second times that Lance ever let you drive. Right? Oh yeah. Like that was one of our first rips out there, and he let you go on, he was on the back and you come flying over that pond. I don't know how much air you got, but you were and I just remember seeing Lance hanging on to you, feet out in the air, and he was so mad because I think he lost his grip and was just holding on to you. So he's Supermaning off the back of this thing. And when he came down, he landed on his guts on the back of the seat.
Oh man.
The amount of times I've seen you and Lance almost fight over shit like that over those years. Oh man.
Speaking of that pond, I remember one time I got wedged in the bank there and Lance was behind me and the pond kind of broke through. So there's a bit of water sticking out. And I remember he went behind me to lift it up. And I hit the throttle at that point. And he was soaking wet.
I'm sure he took it well.
Oh man, the fight was on. Me and him were back at it again.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
That's for sure.
Our group was so funny because it was way too many alphas all together, right? We never wanted to give an inch to any of each other, but it was such a good mix, and we had so much fun together when we did. But man, did it get it got dicey at times, sure. Right? Man. But I just kind of wanted to go back to the dirt biking because that was. If you think that's a tangent, you're going to see some of the tangents we go on later today. But that was always something to me. That was one of the coolest things I saw. Dirt biking was something, especially because I could never get over that hump in my head to actually take the jumps and do it seriously. That I always had a crazy respect for guys like you and Becker and that could go out and do the things you're doing on that track. It just still to this day does not compute in my head how you can overcome that scariness of cracking that throttle when you're leading up to that jump to do it correctly. Like it just
I think it's competitiveness too. I mean,
think it is, and
you get Adam or Eric or any of those guys, they hit a jump, obviously you want to be right behind them or just as fast. And actually Colby Welligan was one of the guys that went with lots too, but I think that's just what it is, competition between your friends. And
I think you're right, because I think when we first started going, me and you would go a lot, and you were kind of riding like I was, not doing it. But then once the other guys started getting in, there's more competition because I wasn't pushing you, right? Like I was, you were better than me immediately, right? And I think I didn't put it together till you just said that, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, once the competitiveness started getting into it, but then you got into it quite hard, and
for sure,
that was kind of cool to see from the outside because it was a whole new sport, right? Like all I knew at that point was hockey for somebody to participate. I mean, maybe like soccer and baseball, that kind of little stuff, but dirt biking was all new. And those, those races when they'd be in Slave and you guys would have the trailer out there and seeing all the dynamic behind it and getting ready for that. How was that I'm curious about the first couple times, first couple of real races you went to.
That was definitely nerve wracking.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Your heart's
you're all alone
when
on
you get down to the start gate and all that jazz, but I don't know what really pushed me into doing the race, and I know my parents were totally against it.
Yeah, where was your first race?
In Slave.
Okay,
it was Slave,
home track.
Home track, and then I think I went to Swan Hills once, and then a couple other ones, and then down to Alex and whatnot. But my parents were so against it, but it was just something I really enjoyed doing and whatnot. And they finally ended up letting me do it. So
let her buck it in. And you're pretty good at it. Hey?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Yeah. So that's kind of how I am when I get on something. I all in on it, get kind of addicted to doing something. So
which is something that I always, I mean, I bug you about this shit all the time. I just think you get so passionate about things. I'm always, bugging you of like, oh, when are you going to make something like that? When are you going to start making money off these passions? Because when I agree, like when you get passionate about something, like just like those quads, right? Like when you started getting into quadding and doing all that stuff, like to see the things you were able to do and like the kind of quads you were able to build with all the accessories and stuff, like fuck, that blew me away. Like that amount of knowledge it needs to go into, but you were so passionate about it, you would learn all that stuff. Like didn't bug you to spend a whole night, figuring out this new snorkel kit and how it went on and stuff, because you cared about it and you're just like running that through. And, what kind of stuff do you find yourself like that passionate? You're still obviously passionate about quads and stuff.
It's honestly whatever I get my mind stuck to. Like recently, it's kind of way off topic, but like stocks, like never went with them at all. And then in this last year, I've just been full in, addicted, learning them and investing and doing all that sort of stuff.
Really?
It's awesome. I really wish I would have started earlier.
Yeah, because you'll only get better at it. Right? Yeah, you'll only understand it more because it's purposefully made so that it's confusing to keep guys out. Absolutely, so that it only draws in those people like you that really enjoy it, right? That's all I tell people. I feel like for stocks, I always have me personally, I have an issue with it just because
it's so manipulated. It
is so manipulated, and the fact that it's people making money off of not actually contributing stuff, but on the same sense, I think it's awesome because of how enjoyable it is to some people. Right. I've talked to so many people that love investing and love almost the sport of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't chirp somebody for being, enjoying investing to that degree, because I watch the Oilers like a fucking maniac, right? Like I'd be pretty hypocritical to get
I think it's I'm just pro money, man. It sounds greedy and everything, but obviously I just enjoy making money and doing that sort of thing.
And you always were, like, you always had side hustles and gigs and you're very conscious about that. And like we talk about, buying and selling quads and equipment and skidoos and stuff, like you were always very up on that. Like, where do you think you got that from your dad or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I just enjoy building it. That's like the quads and stuff. I really do just enjoy building them up and having everything in pristine condition, sort of thing. That anyone who knows me knows it's always an overkill. Like who takes Armor All to their quads, right?
They're always like, freshly cleaned
Armor All's your tires on a quad, but I don't know. I just pride myself on having things clean. Like even my work truck, like people hop in my work truck and like, man, it's a work truck. Why is this thing so clean? And well, it's not just a work truck. It's something I'm in every day and take pride in it, sort of thing. So,
and I think that is something that so many people would benefit from, because I feel like something like that, just having, if you can care about something like that, you can care about a lot of things. I feel like people don't have anything they care about to that degree and just hold high esteem in their own head where just nothing matters to them. I feel like we probably know a lot of people like that. And I feel like just having one little thing where if they just decided that their truck, they were going to keep it that clean, they would get so much better in so many other areas. Just like, if you can't do that somewhere, you can't do that anywhere. Right?
Yeah. And you'll obviously get someone that's like, oh, well, it's just a truck. Yeah. Well, no, things snowball, man.
And that's the mindset you're going to have. Oh, it's just a truck. Oh, it's just your girlfriend. Oh, it's just your kid, right? That mindset of that just, it creeps into everything, right?
Absolutely.
How you do something is how you do everything. That's one of those quotes that always sticks with me, right? Like,
for
if you're going to do it 100%. And I feel like that was something that both our parents and kind of the community itself, that was very much ingrained in what we did around here, right? That Slave Lake, that Northern Alberta, that oil and gas, right? If you're going to do something, do it hard and do it well, right? And I feel like that is so awesome that we had that. And I feel like I didn't realize that was there, or that was so ingrained in the community. I just thought that was everywhere. But then again, when I went to university and you get to see these people come from different walks of life and from the city, and they have no idea any of those kind of values. And it's just like, man, you become so thankful for what you got to grow up with and all that, and the values that you come. I found the biggest thing I noticed was how guys would talk to girls. Like, I swear, when I got to university, some of the things I would hear at the bar or anything, like, I couldn't believe it. It's like, man, if you said that in the pub in Slave, somebody would grab you, right? Like, you can't say that shit.
Yeah, you're not getting away with that.
Right. And it was so amazing to me just that was normal, right? Like, we just used to that. Nobody had to talk into about it with us. It just kind of that's how it was. And obviously we're not perfect. And I think we probably know a couple guys that fall right into that same spectrum of not having that respect. And usually that comes from their own issues and shit they dealt with, right? Like, so much of that is all just bullshit in their own past that they're dealing with. But it is, it's nice to be thankful and look back on, people shit on Slave a lot and all the things that come with it, but fuck,
There's a lot of good.
There's a lot of good, man.
Absolutely,
so much good. Like just thinking back to those times in that rink, like running around and having so many parents there that know who you are and keeping an eye on you, and little pieces of knowledge. Every once in a while, you'd run into Mr. Rooker, Mr. Malbeuf, right? And you're it's like you're getting raised by a couple hundred parents instead of two, right?
Absolutely,
it's that small community. And I feel like if you grew up in a city, you'd never have that, or you'd have to really work hard to seek that out for your kids to try and have a community like that. But it's pretty tough when you don't have it automatically set up like a small town, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, it's tough. Like even when I moved down to Drayton Valley, like it's just not the same. You're driving uptown. I swear I could probably wave to 20 people in Slave Lake, no issues. Yeah. You did that in Drayton Valley when I lived there, first moved there. Sorry, it was just a different mindset, and it really did take a toll on me. Like after 3 years, that was tough. That was like probably toughest 3 years of my life, just because didn't have anyone. Did play rec hockey a bit, but all the guys were older, right? They're 30, have kids, and just not the crowd that I had or hung out with at that time. So
you are preaching to the choir right now, because I'm on about 3.5 years up in Grand Prairie without lots of friends, and I should be playing rec hockey and that kind of stuff, but I don't know what it is. It's just, you're busy at work, and then you get home, you just want to, unwind from it and just sit on the couch and be a vegetable. And
sure.
It's one of those things where, I kept talking, next year I'll, go out and meet some people, but it's, 3.5 years in, I still haven't done it. Yeah. And I was, you talk about it being dark. Yeah, that was some dark times, right? And at the start, it was so covered up by the excitement of work and learning. And I was so, just trying to keep my head above water with learning this new role and having employees and having these big decisions be on my shoulders, right? That hid so much of all that other angst and sadness away, right? I was too busy to be thinking about that. But,
For sure.
2 years goes by, coming up on 3, and just, it definitely was eating at me. And I was at a really low point, and
definitely.
That's what brought me to starting this podcast. Was just like, I need to make a change. I need something in my life, because how it's working right now, it was working great. I thought it was working great, but it's just not anymore. And just to know that I'm on a path now that eventually I can start to build this thing into something, and hopefully not be dependent on having to be in Grand Prairie. Maybe I can, branch out and maybe get to Edmonton or something where I have, because it was almost like I went through it twice, right? Like I went to university and kind of, made a bunch of new friends, lost touch with a lot of friends, and kind of just stayed in touch with the core guys like you, Drew, Clinton, all my real close friends from town, but definitely lost touch with a lot of our other buddies that were in that circle too. Then you go to university, and then you come back, and kind of the same thing happens right now. You come back here, and I got guys like you and Drew where I can, it's like we said, you hop back in 5 minutes later, it's just like old times, right? You're telling stories and that, but you've lost that larger group, and you're a little bit of an outsider when you come back, right? And then now I'm back here, and all my buddies in Edmonton are going on doing things, getting degrees, moving back to Calgary and all that, and it kind of disperses. Yeah. And then you move to Grand Prairie, and now you've missed both, and now you feel like
really
you're just
on your own.
Yeah, and it felt like I was just slowly slipping away. And I found one thing, and this is going to sound silly to people, but I think it's important, that really turned that around and gave me like a real bright spot when it was starting to get bad, was hopping back into Fortnite and shit with you guys for a bit there. Like I
just
didn't realize,
talk to people you can actually relate to.
I didn't realize how much I was missing, just that little bit of contact, and how much that did for me at that time, right? And I've fallen out. It just got busy again with work, and now we were talking about it before I came to Slave here, about like starting to get back into that, because it is important. You need that little bit of connection, whatever way it is. You got to find it, right? It might be for us, it's video games. Other people, it's other things, but especially right now with all the COVID stuff, that's just such an easy, easy thing to do, hop on. It's fun. You can kill some time on it, right? You can bullshit with the boys, and I really like that, and that was a huge step. And I don't think I realized at the time what it did for me, but then looking back, when I kind of slipped back into that, I was like, oh man, like I thought I had this licked. I thought I was doing a little bit better, and I was like, oh well, for a while there, I was actually talking to some people, and that, and then I found when COVID hit, that was the real big time, because
for sure,
it's tough, but every couple weekends I was in the city, or I was up here, and I was seeing everybody and doing that, and it was kind of that, you refresh and get a, you recover and regroup, and then you go back for another couple weeks in the hole there with nobody around, and then but once COVID hit and you cut that off, I was like, oh man, like 4 weeks of just, and even at that time, I wasn't even seeing all my people work, because we had cordoned everything off. I'd see a couple people in my office, and I was like, man, this is driving me nuts.
Jeez, eh?
I knew it was getting bad when this one salesman called, and I talked to him on the phone for an hour about boxing. I was like, oh man, I must be pretty desperate here if I'm talking to some random dude for an hour.
Let's actually give this guy some time. Let's see what
he's no shit, yeah. He probably thought he was going to sell a bunch of shit.
Yeah. He wrote in his notes for sure. Yeah. Had a good chat with Nick today.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny shit.
Yeah, it's good.
But you know what, you figure that stuff out. And I found that, you know, once I started actually thinking about it and not just having it happen and not knowing, like, fuck, I don't feel good, but I don't know why. Right. Yeah. And that was, I think, the scariest part for me was like, I just don't know what it is. And then once I was able to understand a little bit more, I was like, oh yeah, you're away from your friends. You're stressed at work. You have all these things and it makes sense. And then you feel so much better just laying it out.
Even saying it out. Yeah.
Just saying it out loud or just understanding what factors go into it, because that's a scary feeling. It's just like, man, like, nothing's really changed. Like my life is very similar than it was 2 months ago, but I feel very different. And the same things that used to make me happy aren't. And it's like, I don't know what this is.
Need a reset or something.
Yeah, you need something like that. And that's what I found is so nice about this podcast is just, you know, I probably record on average one a week. And just to have once a week where I know I'm going to sit down and have a genuine connection with somebody and just bullshit and talk, like that does so much for the rest of my weekend, just to know you have something to look forward to. Like, oh, it's so much nicer now. And it's, it's pretty awesome.
For sure, man.
I am curious to ask more about that dirt bike. When you
probably want to get to the broken leg part.
Well, I wasn't even thinking about it. I mean, yeah, eventually get into that. Like that's what it all culminates in. But I mean, that was kind of the end of the career there. But even before that, like, I'm just curious about that first race you went to. Like, who was all that? Like, where you?
Yeah, I think it was just like a big like what kind hometown of track. So obviously your friends and stuff were there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
family and whatnot. So kind of forget as well. Like
it's hard to go back
that too. Yeah. But I don't know. I just something I enjoyed a lot, and it was almost like kind of resentment too, because my parents didn't want me to do it so much either.
Nothing's going to make you want to do something more than if your parents don't want you to do it, right? I was such a coward. I always listened to everything my parents said. Now I'm just trying to learn that lesson now of how to,
push back a bit.
Yeah, like fuck. I'm 27 years old. I shouldn't be thinking about what my parents are going to think of this shit, right? But it's so ingrained in me. I find myself doing it all the time, and I get so mad at myself. Like, why do you care? Like, you've moved past this. You're more of an adult than this. You're not a kid, but it's deep. It's in there deep, right? And I feel like that's something that always frustrated me. I think when we were kids, because I feel like my parents were always one of the more strict out of the bunch, right? And I feel like I'd get mad because it's like, fuck, I'm pretty responsible. I'd say of our group, I was sometimes not, but oftentimes the responsible one, and the word of caution at points. But there's definitely times where I was the one stirring all the shit up. But I was like, fuck, parents, like, don't you trust me? Like, of all these yahoos out right now, like, I'm the one's gonna be making the good decisions. Why do I have the most strict rules of that, right? And I feel like that was something that was it was nice to get a little bit of break. Go over to it's not like it was wild rules at the Malbeuf house. It wasn't that much different, but just that little bit more of a you guys are adults. And
I was probably because I had two older siblings.
That's what I was going to say, right? Yeah. You kind of got
that were a bit more into the just party scene and whatnot sooner. Yeah. So my parents went through it. Obviously, I've seen them as strict as they were with my brother and sister. Yeah. So there's by no means was it go do whatever you want or anything like that. I wasn't allowed to go to certain parties and stuff too. But But it was definitely a lot more leaner for sure. And
I think that is that's a nice thing too about being the younger kid is you get to because that was the same thing. My sister used to always say, like, what. Why does he get it so much easier? Like, these rules are not the same for me that they were him, and it's just that natural thing if you get to skate by on the shoulders of your older siblings.
I'll take it.
And then my sister always likes to point out that I also lied and got myself in trouble, and that's why they're more strict on me. She just told me a story that I completely forgot the other day about us going out to a party, and I told them I was at Lance's. And they ran into I think Julie's parents out at night, and they said, like, oh, they're out at this party, and they called me and said, like, where are you? I'm like, at Lance's, and I didn't know. So I was in a little bit of trouble that morning once I came back, and that's where Courtney likes to point to the rules getting stricter. I like to think it was just unfairness, and I was doing everything right, and I was an angel. There's nothing wrong. Hey?
Stick with that one.
Oh man. So another thing I'm curious to ask you about, because like you said, I was, especially at that time, like when you told me that you and Jamie are having a kid and stuff, and how excited I was because, and like you said, I was talking about that on the podcast a little bit, but I don't even know if I covered it fully on the podcast, just what a transitionary period that was of just hearing these really smart people that I look up to make an argument for the importance of parenthood and what that is and kind of it in the grand scheme of things. And I feel like in my head, I'm always such a selfish person that I never really saw, like, it was like, oh, I'll probably have kids just because I love kids so much. And I love hanging out, like playing with kids and all that. Like, I always loved having kids around, but I was just like, oh, the responsibility. I'm such a lazy fucker. Like, I just didn't see it, right? So that was always kind of thing. Like, I knew I really wanted them, but there was so much laziness and things that I need to work on. Like, fuck, I need to work on myself before I can do on that. I can,
for sure,
jump into this. But then hearing that, like, just showed the importance of what that can be, and has absolutely changed how I think about having kids, and I'm so excited for it now.
That's awesome, man.
Right? Like I can't wait, and I'm so jealous. I can't wait for you guys.
I'm beyond pumped. So
I was texting Jamie for her birthday, and I was telling her, I said, I think I might be just as excited as you and Travis. Right? Like,
actually, I think I was talking to Ingo, and we were snapping or something like that, and he said the same thing. He's like, I think Nick's more excited than you guys actually.
No shit, hey, like
that, which is awesome, man.
I think it's just like I got to grow up with both you and Jamie, right? Like I was very close to you both, and I love you both so much as people, and I just think you're going to be such great parents that I'm excited for what kind of kid you guys are going to have, and I'm excited to meet that kid, right?
Yeah.
And like if you know, growing up, if you told me that one day I'm going to get to meet someone that's a mixture of like two of my favorite people in the world, like that, just the idea of that gets me so excited, just to like, and to be that uncle that, you know, buys them their first bottle of whiskey or whatever it is, right? Like,
Funkle.
Funkle Nick. I mean, that's, I've been called that for a long time, even before, you know, having a good reason to call that. But
for sure,
coming along with that, I'm also super fucking nervous, right? And that's kind of the other side of it, is holding me back. So now that you're in it, maybe if I could just ask you a couple questions about it.
Yeah, you bet, man.
How does that balance work? I know you're excited and I know you're nervous. Does that flip-flop, or is one day you're kind of more excited, one day you're more nervous? Is it, you know, by the minute if it kind of flip-flops? Or
yeah, actually, I'd be lying if I said I was nervous, because I'm really not. Like,
really? Oh, that's awesome.
I just haven't had any.
Wait till it gets a little closer.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
And
people
awesome will probably be like, "Oh, he's got to be nervous or something." But Jamie and I have been super chill about it. Like, even her, like, we haven't had any conversations where we're stressing. Well, you know, what are we gonna do between money or this or that? You know, like things that normal people probably stress about.
Yeah,
we just haven't had that yet. But maybe once we get closer. But I think that's just how Jamie and I are. We're both pretty laid back, chill
and I think
people,
you guys know each other so well too that like. I feel like a lot of people probably, if that was a situation, they'd be worried that the other person was holding it back from them and actually nervous. But I feel like with you two, you would know instantly if you were super nerd, Jamie would probably know, right? And same with the reverse. But because you guys know each other so well, you can settle into that, and I feel calm and you feel calm. You can roll with it, right? And,
you betcha. And without even saying anything, just by somebody's body language, right?
Exactly.
Like body language between the two of us. So no, it's good. I can say nothing but excitement is kind of came from us. So
that's awesome.
Be good.
That's great to hear, because I think that's usually people that nervousness is kind of what tempers the whole excitement of the whole thing throughout, and then once you have the kid, now it's, I don't know. I shouldn't say this. I've never had I was going to say maybe the nervousness goes away, but
I would have.
Maybe it ramps up. I don't know. Like,
I guess the most nerve-wracking thing would be trying to come up with a name.
That is a tough decision,
for sure, right? That's someone that
not going Travis Jr.
Yeah, the idea was thrown out, but didn't stick. That one. No.
Oh, tough.
Yeah,
tough.
So, yeah, that's something that'll be tough, because she's kind of more into unique names, different names, and I'm more just like casual traditional names. So we'll see what happens there. Might get a mixture of both.
How many times has Clarence been thrown out for a name?
Middle name maybe.
Oh, there you go. How is Clarence doing? I mean, and for people that don't know, Clarence is your dad, and was a secondary dad for me, coached me in hockey for many years. Like we said, I was over at his house half the fucking time anyway, right? Like, learned a lot of lessons from him. Was just a very important guy in my life, right? Growing up, we all have that. I'm sure just like Ingo was in yours and all that stuff, and Barry and all these guys. But it's kind of weird. It's almost like a friend you lose touch with, right? But it's big time. But it's not like you can just call him up. I mean,
well, that's like your dad. I mean, I talk to your dad like he's a friend still between the snaps. Like he still sends me funny filters here and there.
Oh my God, him and his Snapchat filters, him and Jason Hancock, those two.
Speaking of Snapchat, Claire's on that recently too.
Okay. Well, now we know how me and Claire are going to reconnect. Just get a little Snapchat going.
We'll be getting him every Oilers games. He's got the jersey on and his apparel.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah,
what kind of Oilers jersey is he rocking? Who's his guy now?
Who does he got? Well, probably. What does he got? Probably a McDavid is my guess.
He's got all of them. I'm sure.
I think he's got a mixture for sure in his closet. So he's a diehard.
Well, we're both rocking Oiler hats right now. So, what'd you think of the game last night?
Yeah, that was quite the blowout. The boys needed that for sure. Confidence boost. So especially with the little run they had there with Toronto, was this year.
Just couldn't get it going. Hey, and that was the thing with that 3-game series with Toronto where they got just shit smacked all 3 games. I thought they were the better team the first 2 games of that. Like they couldn't get any bounce. They couldn't.
The bounces,
they played good though, and the goaltending that Toronto had was spectacular. But I feel like this is the first year where I'm not just pushing that panic button every time something like that happens, because it's like there's so much to be excited for with that decor and with, Yamamoto's been one of my favorite Oilers since the day we drafted him. For some reason, I just had a special feeling about him, right? Like when they interviewed him, they said like, why should we pick you at 14 when you're rated, whatever, I'm making up numbers here. Yeah. He said, cause I'm going to make every team that doesn't pick me regret it. And they like that and they pull him out, and just this little guy. So as soon as he broke in, I was so excited to see him do well last year. And then again, to see them put that Draisaitl, McDavid, Yamo line together and see what it can do. Yeah. That is the filthiest line in hockey
gross,
right
man.
now. Like to take
his
the
drop pass there that he had there.
I was so sure because you see the drop pass coming, you're like, oh, like that's too fast. There's no way Draisaitl gets a shot off here, right? Like even the announcer saying like this has got to handcuff him, right?
Yeah.
But for him to have that split second of and I feel like that's something that every player that comes to the Oilers needs almost 20, 30 games to get the feeling of, is when McDavid's on the ice, you need to be ready at all times. He's going to get you a puck that you think there's no way in hell can this puck get to me, right? Yeah. But that's what you see. If that was any other player than Draisaitl that has probably the most time interacting one-on-one, singular passes in the O-zone with McDavid over the years.
Yeah.
He knew that pass was coming. And I don't think there's another player in the NHL that would have reacted that quick and got that, but maybe, I don't know. There's probably Patrick Kane and stuff, but just to see that and then to add a third piece in there like Yamamoto that can dig out pucks and cause havoc and is just such a little wrecking ball that pisses people off. Yeah. I found that one of the biggest struggles with the Oilers over these years has been trying to take away some of the attention on guys like McDavid and Draisaitl because they're just so dominant out there. It's hard not to have, jerseys glued to them. But I found a guy like Yamamoto just causes enough chaos out there and it's just, slew-footing guys and throwing big hits and shit. Right? Yeah, that people get pissed off that one of the two of them can get lost. And it's just so much fun to watch. And I don't know. What do you think? Should they keep that line together? Or do you think they should go back to splitting them up?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's good, obviously, to have them together because they produce the points. But
you know what you're going to get.
It's nice to have him carry a second line there too, right? So
it is.
It's a catch-22. If you need them together, put them together. But
I think what's giving them confidence to do it right now is how well Nuge is carrying that second line, right?
True,
like he's driving that line. He looks like a whole different player now that he's away from them, right? Like I think it's just a different role you have to play when you're on a line with McDavid. You're not supposed to be driving the play. He's going to drive the play. You have to do other things, right? And it doesn't. But it's nice to be able to see Nuge slot back into that center position and do that, right? Like that is. I've been so impressed with his play. I always have been. I mean, Nuge is one of those guys where if anybody says Nuge sucks or anything bad about him, they probably don't watch too much hockey.
Exactly.
Right? Like
they caught a bad game.
Yeah. Every real Oilers fan knows that like Nuge is just one of those guys. But then to have him go out and have no shadow in his way, just go out and dominate like that, like that's awesome. And I find the other nice thing too is when they put a line like that together with Draisaitl and McDavid, there's so much energy there that like the rest of the lines just flow because they're just getting amped up by seeing the crazy shit they're doing out there, right? Like I feel like the Oilers since McDavid got there have been such a momentum team, right? Like when things are going well for them and they're rolling, they're unstoppable, but they just have that kind of car wreck thing when, a couple bad goals go in and it can really turn around in a hurry. And I feel like that is just that injection of, and I feel like even if they don't keep that line together going forward and they start running it, I feel like the fact that they'll start throwing Yamamoto, Draisaitl and McDavid together when things go wrong for that energy, I feel like that is the line, right? Like I feel like it's one thing to throw Nuge in there, and that is a great line as well. You can't say McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins isn't a great first line, but I feel like it's different when you now allow for Nuge to go in that second line and allow for a guy like Yamamoto where it's just a different mixture there, right? Sure. It goes a little bit different direction and the energy that comes out of that line just allows for so much to come out. And we don't even have Cassian back right now.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Like I was thinking that yesterday, like where do you even slot him in right now? Like, I don't know, he pops on that third line maybe, and it's just, or maybe you put him with Nugent Hopkins, see what happens there. I don't know, but I'm excited for it. Like,
yeah, big time for sure.
And I feel like as an Oiler fan for so many years, it's been hard. What have we been excited about? Like, fuck, it's just been thing after thing of like, kind of negative and just to see like, oh man, we got some good guys in the pipeline. We got some good D-man. Like, if we could just get a goalie to come on board, we'd be unstoppable.
Yeah, you're not for the first shot, first goal here that's happened lately.
Lately, that's been the first in the last 3 years, man.
Window to the sails before you even get the win.
Oh man, but it's nice now that like they've come back from it a couple of times, right? Yeah, it used to be, they score on the first minute on a bad shot, turn the TV off. We've seen this movie before. We know what's about to come. But
absolutely.
Now, a couple of those 3-0 comebacks and shit. Like,
it's exciting to watch for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's just a breath of fresh air because it hasn't been that exciting to watch for so many years.
Big time, yeah.
I feel like every sport too. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'll find the team that's going to do that thing. Like I find the Oilers of every other league to cheer for, right? Like in football, I cheer for the Vikings, and it's like, oh, that is the Oilers of football. It's like can never get past the hump. Always have these heartbreaking things. Like, why would I do this to myself?
Yeah,
might as well. Yeah, I always say if I'm gonna start getting into basketball, I have to be a Knicks fan just to make sure I get all the curses,
take all the punishment.
Yeah. Just lay it on me.
Into that weird shit.
Yeah, into that kinky stuff.
Yeah,
you know me, Trav. You know what I'm into. Oh man.
Yeah, no shit, eh?
Oh, good times, eh?
Yeah.
So then, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of hockey, we could probably go back to a few hockey stories we got.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we could. Yeah. What's your favorite?
I seen recently, one of our pictures came up there, the old Thunder team we had there, and everyone started commenting on it. You yourself, so you can relate. But yeah, it's fun to look back at those pictures and those stories come up, and it's good that we can all keep in touch too, which is pretty sweet. So
and I feel like now, looking back on that hockey career and what that was and what you got out of it and stuff, because I was talking to Tyler a bit yesterday about that last year where I was an overage and I couldn't play with you guys, right? And that was tough, you know, like me and Clinton both were overage, so in grade 12 and usually there's a junior team, but just happened that team folded that year, so we didn't get to play. And it was kind of cool because you, up until then, you know, playing hockey since you're this tall, every weekend is hockey, right? Like a weekend off is few and far between, and usually for my family we'd book a ski trip in there because that was the only time we could get skiing in a year because of hockey, right? So it was kind of cool to see all those all the freedom we can do and other things we could try and enjoy, and I feel like that almost left a taste in my mouth where I was like, oh, maybe hockey wasn't everything it was to me, because like I had a pretty good year that last year. I was sad I didn't get to play, but I think after a few more years looking back of, like you say, those funny stories, what we learned, like I feel like sports like that, and like hockey especially, but any team sport, like it teaches you so many lessons.
Oh, absolutely,
like, man. And just how to be a good person, you know, what to do, how to deal with your emotions a little bit, like tough losses, big highs, big lows, like
for sure.
There's so much of it that comes back, and
taking criticism like between coaches and this and that, and
which I
direction and stuff.
Yeah, I was never good at that part.
No, I wasn't either. I could take that as well.
I was. I filled a couple roles on a hockey team, and none of them were very traditional. You know, I wasn't out scoring goals. I wasn't out setting shit up. I could hit a few guys. That was my favorite part of hockey. You know, like when I'd come home from the games, Ingle wasn't asking how many goals you scored, how many big hits did you have, right? Like that was always our currency, right? And he liked that too. And I think that's probably where I got it from, was watching hockey with him, and that was always our favorite parts, like the big hits. That was everything for it, right? Like
the old Don Cherries.
Fucking Don Cherries, man. How many Don Cherries did we watch on bus trips to?
Man,
to hockey,
up on like, Don Cherry for sure. So many bus trips.
You don't realize how much you miss a guy like Don Cherry. Hey, like on Hockey Nights Canada, it's still not quite the same for me. You know, like, I find myself
same as to get those Don Cherry clips. Like that was kind of a Christmas thing between grandparents. They would always get us a Guinness World Record book and like the Don Cherry, like each season, each season there. So
I wonder if they'll fire that back up. Or I wonder if that was partnered with something. Like why? I guess you'd have to have the rights to the footage and stuff. That probably was a deal through the broadcast. Damn,
true.
So I was gonna say maybe you could fire those back up.
That'd be pretty cool.
You know, like
well, there's enough highlights that happen in a year that you'd make a film still for sure.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Yeah, no, I love those hockey trips. Some of the shit, and I feel like some of the funnest times were in the hotel rooms after the games, right in the hallways playing mini sticks and shit. Like just the shit we would get up to is just it would blow your mind. I'm trying to think of anything specific, but it's just like so many memories are flashing into my head at once. It's hard to pick them out. Like I remember, I think it was my last year of hockey when we went to provincials down in Hannah, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And when we got knocked out, and I think it was Rocky Mountain House, they got knocked out as well.
Yeah, partying in their room there.
Yeah, and we all of us all got together, the two teams that just like played against each other, and just we're drinking together and just having the party of our lives, just like ripping it up. And I think there was somebody videoing that provincials, and I think there was Anthony had put somebody over the boards or something. I think it might have been on Rocky Mountain House. So I think everyone's in a room watching with the guy that got put over the boards, the guy that put him over the boards. Yeah. And that's just rewinding and going, oh, right? Like, and then there's parents in there and shit, like, man, like just some of those times we had. Oh, so much fun.
Especially being Hannah, I think there was a lot of Nickelback jokes that were music played at that time too.
Oh man, for people that don't know, Hannah's the birthplace of Nickelback. That's where they're born and raised. And Slave Lake's a pretty big Nickelback town for all the people that shit on it. I fucking love Nickelback. I don't care who knows it. I'm all about it.
all about it.
Yeah, me too. We always were
I'm not Pinkerton obsessed, but
you're up there, a couple notches back. Yeah. Oh man, there's so many people, and I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of respect for people that say they like Nickelback just because of the shit you take. I feel like it's such a thing that like it's so silly too. The only reason people don't like it is just because it's cool not to like it. Right?
Yeah.
Shit like that pisses me off.
Something to shit on.
Things. Yeah, when people do things just for the sake of being cool, like just nothing is less cool than that in my head.
I agree 100% with that.
Drives me nuts. Yeah, no, that was a fun trip. That one to Hannah there. Had definitely some other fun ones. What were some of your favorite hockey stories back in the day there?
Yeah, it was
my favorite stories of you were the fights you got in. Because I was a big pussy. I never fought nobody, right? But I'd always watch you guys fight and have a good time on the bench, snacking.
Yeah, those were always fun. I remember my first junior fight was in Slave Lake, and I think it was my first year up kind of in Wolves.
Yeah,
and I remember it was a doubleheader against Dawson Creek, I think. Yeah, and Tommy Guerin was coaching with my dad at that point. And I got in a little tussle the game prior with a kid or something. And it was always wanted to get in a good fight without a cage on. Because midgets get in a fight with a cage. Yeah. Looking back on it now, dumbest thing in the world.
Why are we doing
Punching someone in a cage and get a game suspension about it.
Or just be like Vince and rip the cage right off the guy's head. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Throw it 30 feet in the air. That was cool as fuck.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. So I remember just being pumped, and I went into the coach's room and I was like, oh, I really want to like get first fight in, like do it. And they were both encouraging it. Or go ahead. You gotta
give her,
you gotta try it. And I remember it was end of the second or going into third or something, and got in a fight. And
pretty packed barn.
Yeah, and it was always packed, like with us.
Wolves games were huge, man.
Yeah. So being that age too, it's kind of that age group watching. But yeah, I got in that fight and I felt like I did pretty good. Ended up hitting the guy and he went down or whatever, this and that, and you're just on top of the world.
Yeah.
Craziest feeling. But that was one of the highlights for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's funny for me having never been in a fight in my life, right?
Yeah.
Like hockey fights, scrums and shit, but never, even at the bar, never thrown a punch, never done that. For somebody, having said all that, for how obsessed I am with MMA and UFC now, it's such a funny thing in my own head. It's like, I don't know the first thing about fighting, right? Like,
living through a UFC fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I could watch a fight and tell you all the combos and the shit and the moves they're doing on the ground, but could I do it myself? Not a chance. Right?
Not in real life.
That's definitely me living vicariously through it. But I loved fighting too. Like going to hockey, that was always one of my favorite things when we were younger. Was going to the Wolves games. You know, when you're 10, 12 years old and watching guys like Zinnick and Woogie and Kyle Pochette and all those guys going out there. And it was fun to watch the games too, but everybody in that stands was waiting for the fights.
Oh, like, absolutely, man.
The coolest shit. Like as a kid watching people, and you know those people, right? Like it's not just someone. I remember Kamal Morad going after a guy. He at one point it was a huge brawl, right? The whole thing, and I think he already had his gloves off, was fighting with somebody else, and some other guy was coming at him, and he skated, and he just ducked down like frontwards, like at the waist, and hip checked the guy frontwards, and just flipped him over his back, and kept skating, and grabbed another guy and was fighting with him. It was the cool,
like Terminator shit.
Yeah, like it was the coolest thing I think I've ever seen. I was a little kid at that point, but I still remember that to this day of him doing that. Really? I'll have to, next time I run into him, I'll have to ask him about that, see if he remembers it. He's married and shit now, probably as a kid, but like just all the times that we go there and just. Maybe it's not such a wonder that I'm into fighting now because that was the coolest thing you could do, right? Like it's maybe just a wonder that I never got into more fighting myself, but I think I'm just a big pussy, like I've said, right? Like I don't like pain, I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't like conflict. I'm more of I use my brain kind of guy. Yeah,
how do I talk myself?
Yeah, exactly. I always talk to
that works.
Talking myself out of it or joking myself out of it.
Oh yeah,
always, right? That's why I never. And I feel like that was always something because my dad always said. I've never been in a fight in my life, right? And he was always
overrated.
He just said like you don't need to do that shit, right? Like and that stuck, I guess, because I never really lost my cool like that.
For sure.
And I shouldn't say that I'm not perfect. I've lost my cool a couple times where I was lucky enough people held me back, right?
Yeah,
Actually, actually only one time I can think of. I'll tell a story. So. That summer before I moved up to Grand Prairie, so I found out about this job and this opportunity, right? And that we were going to be taking over the Grand Prairie operation September 15th. And Letterbuck, this is your first time. I think that was start to mid-July at that time we got word that this was coming. So it was like, holy shit, okay, so let's I booked a trip to Europe for the whole month of August, arriving back, I think the 28th of August. I left at the end of July, and I figured I'd have 15 days before we took over, right? And so I went to GP, looked at a bunch of houses, settled on a house, packed up a little bit of shit, and then flew out to Europe. And then midway through that trip, I found out that actually it was going to be the 1st of September, not the 15th, so I had to come back. But anyways, while I'm in Europe, I did the trip all through Europe, and then I did a second trip through the Greek islands.
Right.
And on that trip, I was what island were we on? Eos, Mykonos. I think it was Eos, and this is this island where it's all on a hill, right? Like the island has quite an elevation. You kind of stay near the beach in your hotel or whatever it is, and then when you want to drink, they take these buses and they drive you up the hill into these things. And there's all these little bars, and it's crazy streets, and each bar has kind of a special thing they do, right? Like one of them is
like their own niche or whatever.
Yeah, their own little niche, and it was always a drinking thing. Like drink 5 shots in this crazy way that's particular to the bar, and you win a T-shirt. So everywhere you're on this island, so everyone you see walking around this island during the day is all wearing these, and they're all like wife beater basketball jersey type shirts for the most part. And you just see these, and you see these really cool ones, right? Like, oh fuck, I gotta find the bar that has that one and that one all day. And you go there at night, and so it gets sloppy quick because you see a cool shirt, you want to do whatever it is, right? Like one was an absinthe bar where they'd light them all on fire and you do all 5 shots. One was can't remember some of the other ones, but the one I remember the most, and probably the one you've seen a video of, and we didn't know what it's called, Crash Bar. I think I still have the shirt from there. And we walk up, and these 2 Aussies are in front of me, like from my trip, my boys right there in front of me. They get up to the first bar we walk up to, and we don't know what the rule is. So how do we get our shirts? Because they had 6 shirts. So he goes, all right, boys, like you're up. And the 2 guys in front of me, and they line up 5 shots for both of them, and they put helmets on.
Yeah, that's definitely one I see.
So the fucker takes one drink, and he pulls out a skateboard, bang, mucks him in the head. I'm like, holy shit. And he's like, right, everyone's like, I'm like, oh shit, all right. Takes another one, takes a fire extinguisher, bang, smucks him in the head. He had just, all his bar was just crazy shit to hit people with, and that was their thing. And then on the last shot, they both take him, and he takes their heads and smucks them together. And I'm like, this place is wild, right? So like, I swear I'm getting back to the story of me almost getting in a fight. But so it was one of these nights we're out there, and I don't know which bars we were at, but I was pretty sloppy drunk at that point. And there was a girl on the trip that, I was seeing and, hooked up with a couple times a trip. I mean, nothing serious, but just, having fun. And we get to this bar, and we just walk in, and this guy grabs her and just kisses her, like didn't ask nothing, just kind of grabs her head. And my wires have never crossed like that in my life. I wanted to kill that kid. And I had like this one huge Kiwi dude and this one huge Australian dude both holding me back. And I was just trying to I went full Travis Malbeuf. I was trying to throw them off me. I just wanted to absolutely kill this kid for whatever reason. I don't know what got over me. And looking back, I was like, I've never been in a fight. What was I doing? I probably would have got beat up. Was I going to walk up to him, scratch him? Like, I don't know. But it's just like that. I'd never felt that moment of like, all I saw was, I wasn't thinking. I just went out, and it was fine. After they got me outside, and I calmed down, and the guy just said like, sorry, man, I'm drunk. He bought me a drink and whatever. And I don't know. It's probably just jealousy. It was, but to me, it was, you didn't ask. You just like assaulted her, right?
For sure.
She was like, what the fuck? She wasn't okay with it, right? Like, whatever. And I just...
And alcohol and heightens everything.
Oh, yeah. You had a couple... just got your head knocked in with a fire extinguisher. Probably aren't thinking too straight, right? Like,
you got to take this out on someone.
Yeah. Oh, man. And I think it might have been that night, but we're trying to stay out so late because there's this bar called the Pablo Escobar. and I still got the shirt from there. And it's just... cool shirt, but it didn't open till like 2 a.m. So we're just partying that night trying to find this, and we didn't know where it was, and we had saw the shirts, and we told our guide like, where do we get those? And she's like, oh, like, you want to go that? Okay, like, find me at the end of the night, I'll take you. It doesn't open till 2. And we went there, and fuck, man, just a couple of us went there. That bar was wild.
Oh, I bet, with a name like that.
Oh yeah, I can't remember what the special, how we had to get drinks there, like, or what the t-shirt rules were there. There's one that had like these all these basketball jerseys that had like, it looked like a Jordan jersey and a Kobe jersey and all this stuff, but just like with a couple things changed on them. Those were cool.
Yeah.
What other ones were there? I got this real sweet shirt with a panda on it from there.
Nice.
Yeah, half my wardrobe is just shirts from that island.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, man. That's sweet to have, because you got a story connected to each one, right?
Yeah, exactly. So. And that's my shit. Like, I'm not a big fashion guy.
No.
90% of the shit I'm wearing is just like merch.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this shirt is a merch from my comedian, right? The shirt I'm wearing underneath is someone that people made. Like, I just like wearing shit that I enjoy it, right? Like, that has a story to it, that kind of shit where it, like,
don't need the Lacoste or the JLs like we did in high school.
Because I went through that, but it was never me, right? That was one of those times where I look back and I was just trying to be cool. I don't care about fashion. Why was I spending all my money? And I was such a freak about people thinking that I was given everything because my parents were well off. That was always such a complex I had all growing up. So I
you're battling with.
So when I would buy all that shit, I worked all the time and I'd pay for it, right? Like my parents, but Ingo's like, I'm not buying you a $100 shirt. Go fuck yourself, right? Yeah. Which is 100% fair, and I'm so glad he said that. But like, I wasted so much of my hard-earned money from the C-store on those stupid, that clothes, that French Connection sweater I wore every day. Like,
Fuck me.
Yeah. Oh my god! Like, what was I thinking? Like all those Lacoste shirts.
Oh, buddy.
What were we doing? We live in Slave Lake, Alberta. We're out quadding because we're wearing Lacoste shirts to school.
No shit, man.
Oh my god, a Lacoste shirt and a
I think it was even the age groups ahead of us, right? Like it wasn't just us that. I think we adapted from.
I think so, yeah. Because I think we probably saw Gunk and Eben and all that wearing that stuff.
And they seen like Curtis and those 100%, guys.
Yeah, that was the first thing.
It just kind of trickled down. I think is what it is. So
because Curtis always had style. He was the only guy in Slave Lake that I think that had some actual fashion sense, right? Yeah. So pretty much half of Slave Lake fashion is just coming off of what Kurt did, right? Like if you're honest about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Kurt and Dougie. I remember Dougie. Severson was a big guy.
Oh yeah. That kind of age group, I guess. Yeah. And that's probably just because we didn't know anybody old. That was the peak age that we knew. There's probably guys that they saw that were a couple years older than they doing, right? Everybody's doing the same shit. You just don't realize it until you get a little bit removed from it. But oh man, I definitely wasted so much money on that shit.
Oh man, dumb.
Looking back on that, I was just at the mall with Alyssa not too long ago, and that kind of whole section of West Ed that has all those clothes,
the premium brand.
Yeah,
what do they call that street? Like European.
Europa Boulevard.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah,
and like opulence and all that shit.
I still get fucking text messages from opulence.
Or opulence,
or opulence or opulence, whatever it is. I still get texts from them. I must have signed up for some sort of thing. I don't know how to turn it off.
You spent so much your Prime member.
No shit, man. I had a gold card there. Fuck. Like shit like that.
Didn't they give us gold cards or something? Like
maybe
from school. I thought there was something like what's that trip?
If you had a certain grade at the end of the year, you got to go to West Ed. Go to West Ed, and they brought you to school, which was so much fun. Yeah, did we go to the water park or anything?
I'm pretty sure you had to have the right grades for that.
Maybe
in or something. That wasn't the best for the school. So,
but I remember on one of those trips coming out of it, because I think that was maybe one of the first times going to the mall with just our friends and stuff. And, and I had money and I feel I probably spent like $500
for sure.
$500 at that time. Like, oh my God. Right.
That's huge.
But one
coolest dude though.
Oh yeah.
Like, this guy got $500 worth of clothes. Coolest fucking guy.
Cause that was my cool thing. Right. Like I had nothing else. I wasn't fucking busting moves at the dance floor or nothing. I had to show off in some stupid way. Right.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's so funny to look back on the shit two things, the shit that we did that was trying to be cool, and then the shit that we did that was fun but not cool that we just hid away. Like something I think about a lot with you is how much fun we had in drama class.
Oh fuck.
Right? God. Like but I feel like we didn't take it very seriously, or half the time and I don't want to speak for you, but for myself, a lot of the time it was balancing that of have fun, make people laugh, because both of us, we love being class clowns. We like making people laugh, and it was an opportunity for it, but we couldn't look like we were trying too hard, right? Like
for sure.
Every time there, the play at the end of the year, I would try and get the least roles possible I'd add for it. And they would not let us. Yeah. They would be like, no, you're not. You're the narrator or one of the main characters.
Yeah, we know you're an outgoing class clown, but not like in a group setting. We're kind of like the hidden class clowns, secret class clowns.
When it's our crew, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was for me of just me being scared, because I think I always wanted to be that big class clown. Like every year when they do Mitch or Idol, that killed me every year that I wasn't up there doing something, because I like that attention, right? Yeah. Obviously I'm doing this, right? And it was just a manifestation, but I feel like I was always I felt like there was something gross about that of wanting attention, right? So I always kind of hid that part away of like, no, I like, people looking at me, and I like that because they talk about the biggest fears that people have, and they say public speaking is the biggest fear by far, like more than heights, more than everything. They say public speaking. And I was very surprised by that, because I love public speaking, right? Like I know
I hate it.
Yeah. And so many people, like I'd say if you ask 100 people, 95 of them are going to say they hate it, right?
Yeah.
Like, but then you go to university, you go to business school, and business school is 95% group projects. That's all it is. For whatever reason, I fucking hate group projects.
Yeah.
But the nice thing was you'd have a bunch of people in. Like I remember I had this one girl, super smart, very much, and she did a bunch of the work on this project. But when it comes to presenting, you're not supposed to have one person just present it all. You're supposed to do a mixture.
Everyone.
She had a fucking panic attack before,
really?
right?
Holy shit,
but that was where I was excelled, right? Like I would work hard on the thing, but I just told the people, just give me the hardest presenting part. I'll do that. I'll present. Like that is my domain. I will rock that shit. And I would always do that. Or in university, like there'd be times where you could stand out in front of everybody and talk. And I cherish that. I love that shit.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's good, man. Need people like that. I think I just, when we do our reading stuff in high school, I think I said orgasm
instead of organism.
Yeah. Scarred myself enough with that one.
Yeah, I remember that one real bad. Oh, fuck. I just remembered a story we have to tell, but I don't want to tell it because it's so fucking embarrassing.
Is it Miss Mulvera?
Oh, it is. I told Alyssa this story the other day, and I almost like threw up. It hurt so bad to tell it, and I was thinking
about telling it. Like,
and because when I told her, I figured, oh fuck, Trav's coming on. There's no way that doesn't come up because it's the funniest fucking story ever. But it sucks. It sucks so much ass. Fuck. Yeah, okay, well, I don't know. Do you want to tell it? Do you want me to tell?
I'll jump in if what I remember.
Okay, so we had I don't know what class it was with leadership.
It was or social. Yeah, I think.
Whatever.
One of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. We had this class, and one of our teachers ended up getting cancer that year, and it was a big deal for the school. And you know, she was going through something. And it was a very tough time, and you know, kind of all the kids. Fuck. I know. I promise there's a funny part to the story. Yeah. We're not laughing that she has cancer, of course. But there's one class where we come into class that day, and she tells us, "Hey, I have a call with my doctor at this time. Like, you guys are gonna have to be quiet and just let me have this call." And it was very emotional at that time, right? I don't remember what grade, maybe grade 7,
something like that.
And so we're just sitting there, and this is what I was telling Alyssa. I'm glad I just told the story so I can get myself back into it. I think at that time it was so awkward and it was so quiet that I was sitting there and I didn't want to think about what we're thinking. I was just trying to, like, my mind went blank because I think it was so sad. I didn't want to think about it. So I was just like zoned out.
Yeah.
And because I'm so zoned out, I got the fucking biggest part.
Quietest I've ever seen a classroom in my life, because the most important phone call.
Oh my God, everyone's just trying to hold back tears. This is a sad moment, and I fucking cut not like a little squeaker, like a full on like, and I just, all the blood drains out of my face. I'm like, no, like there's no way. And I felt so bad, right?
You're the back of the classroom.
Oh my
God. Everyone
turned
around.
And the death glare I got from her too was just like, oh, just that's the part. Like I almost couldn't get it out to tell Alyssa. Like, and I knew I had to tell the story to her so I could tell it here, but yeah. Oh, I still to this day when I think about that, like it just, but it was so fun, and you being around trying not to laugh, right? Because I don't think I was laughing. I was so devastated. Yeah, I was just like could barely fucking.
My life is over.
Yeah, my life was over right there. At that point.
Darkness, my old friend.
Oh, yeah, like fuck, that was playing in the background, but fuck, was that the worst, man?
Oh, buddy. Oh, well, at least you weren't alone. I remember someone farting in a drama class there. Dude farts. Actually, drama class. one a close friend and one that's another guy there. But Eric will probably love this story. You'll have to get him on and chat it. But I remember we were doing a little group activity, so we're all in a circle there sitting, and Becker, Adam started tickling Eric, and he was just tickling him where he's just laughing, right? And the class is quiet, and sure enough, Eric shits his pants as he's tickling him. And the whole class went quiet when that happened.
And the look on his face was, I think, the funniest part too. Poor Eric. Yeah. I mean, I just told that story, so I've been through it too. We all been there, but fuck, man, just the look on his face when that one happened.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I forgot about that thing.
He was so betrayed that Adam tickled him to a fart.
Yeah. And Adam had no idea.
No, Adam was like, "What the hell?"
Fuck.
Yeah, good times.
There's not many things funnier than a fart in the right moment.
Yeah.
Hey, like you see these comedians you see these comedians go up and craft these hours that they work like 5 years on to put out, and like fucking you can be outworked by a fart in the right moment. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh, my guts hurt, man. Oh
yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Man, so many of those stories, and so many, like our teacher that was in that drama class, I feel like we had her for a couple other subjects too, and always when me and you were in that class, like the shit we put that lady through, man, like
was that Ringrose?
Yeah, I think so. And man, did we push our luck there. I remember I can't remember one time we just had her at the end of her rope of just she just unloaded on us. Like
I think one time actually Lance or someone was in the classroom there, and she was out of the classroom. And someone walked by me. I think it was Lance. It might have been someone else. And just as he walked by me, she walked in, and I was grabbing the pants and pulling them down. And got him down, and she walked in and caught that. I thought I was done.
Yeah.
She sent me down to Carlton,
Oh, no.
and I thought that was the end of me going in there.
And let me guess, Carlton was a super bro about it.
He actually wasn't bad. He's like, you shouldn't be doing that, and that.
Yeah.
But he's been a kid there down that block for sure.
That's what I felt. I feel like all the way through school, I was so frustrated because I always felt like I was like intellectually further along than how I was treated, right? Like I always felt like I was, smarter than the teachers at the point. And I always butted heads, like I'd get into it all the time with teachers.
Yeah.
And I loved having Mr. Carlton there because he was a hard ass, but if you were respectful, he'd treat you with that.
For
like
sure.
I remember getting sent to the same thing, like, oh, I remember what it was. Fuck. Talking about Tyler Gramiak earlier today and how he's doing, but fuck. So I don't know if you're in this class, but
I'm not sure.
We had the old pull the chair out, and let somebody fall kind of rule. So we're in these desks, and it's one of those desks where the desk and the chair are all completed, and then it's got a little rack underneath, right? People probably can reminisce on what that looks like. And he's sitting in front of me, and I think, this is going to be awesome. I'll just grab the whole desk and zing it out of the way today with my foot, and he'll just come crashing down. So all goes perfect to plan. I soon get out of it. He goes to sit down, but he cracks his head on my desk. And I'm like, oh no, I done goofed, right? Like, and he was obviously bro, like, like it's funny. Like, no, he's like trying to.
It was just a joke.
Yeah, like he was trying to get me not to get in trouble. And I'm like, fuck. And I got sent to Carlton. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble, right? And
done it now.
You just, fuck, like, what am I going to get suspended, all this shit? And I get in there and, well, what are you doing here? What'd you get sent for? I told him the story. He's like, all right, you're going to have to sit in here for about 5 more minutes. Because I got his look at it, but boys will be boys. Don't do it again, right? And like, fuck yeah. I remember, like, I still remember that to the day how important that was. It's just like, to be like, because I already felt bad. I didn't mean to do it. He understood that. He knew I told him I was just trying. We do it all the time to be funny. He just ended up hitting his head, and he said, like, yeah, I get that. I understand that, but just sitting here for another 5 minutes. I got shit to do, and then you can go.
Yeah.
Right? Like he said, I just got to make it look like I'm giving you some shit. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
like, is this how the real world works? Because this is awesome, right? You can explain yourself and people listen.
Yeah.
I think that set me up for failure because I think that's not really how the real world works. You can't just explain yourself and have it go. But man, like guys like that in that hockey class that they put together, him and Mr. Zell, that was.
We were actually talking about that the other day between sports performance. And hockey, we were playing hockey 7 days a week, man. It was just crazy when you think about it. Best shape of your life is in those days. Obviously, wish a guy took a little more serious, could have been in even more shape. But,
yeah, exactly. If you're not Cody Stassel, you're not in the peak shape. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Him and the Coulters.
I remember at one point we would be, so Saturday, Sunday, you'd have a hockey game. Then Sunday night, we'd go back and we'd play this youth group. Me and Drew kept doing it, right? So it'd be on the ice. An hour Sunday night, then Monday you're skating for sports performances class that they put together so we got to play hockey in high school. Then Tuesday you do weights in that class.
Yeah.
Then Tuesday night you do your regular practices. Then Wednesday you're back on the ice with school. Then Thursday you do workout and then the hockey practice. Yeah. Then Friday scrimmage day for school, so you get to actually play a game. And then again Saturday, Sunday you're playing hockey. So you're on the ice 8 times a week, right? Like 8 times a week with two off ices. Like,
mix a hockey tournament in that.
No shit. Like fuck. Like that is a lot of ice time. Like you don't even realize like how crazy that is and what kind of time. And then you add into that too. At a certain point, once we got our licenses, is a different story. But fuck, our parents were hauling us all over for that shit. Like, holy man! Especially like living out of town a bit, like I do. Like and that was always the rule. And I think. For a long time, I didn't really like practice. I always hated practice, but I could never skip practice because always my dad was coaching. Like if he's going, I'm going. So it was like, I probably like in all those years of hockey, like I maybe missed like 5 practices, right? But I feel like I was so burnt out on hockey at points throughout that journey. Because the games were always so fun. Like it doesn't matter how burnt out you are. The game of hockey, like an actual competitive with refs, like with your team, with your guy, it doesn't matter how burnt. It's so much fun. It doesn't matter. But the rest of it, like playing hockey that much, like you get burnt out, and you're doing it to yourself, right? Like I didn't need to go to those youth group games on Sundays, right?
For
like
sure.
That was
just something you enjoy doing.
Exactly. You just have so much fun doing it, and like playing those games that you do it, and you don't realize, you don't even know what burnout is at that point.
Exactly.
You can't even articulate how you feel at that point. So much of growing up is just that. It's just learning how to talk about what you're going, right? And how to actually put words to it, right?
Yeah.
Oh man,
big time.
Funny. Yeah. So I'm curious about just you're my first really, well, I should careful say. I was going to say my first really close friend that's going to be having a kid. Like, and I've had some close friends, but I mean somebody that like spent that kind of hours with that kind of. So I'm curious to ask you the questions that I'm curious about for myself. Like,
for sure,
what kind of stuff when you found out, like, have you done any like learning? Have you like gone on and like read any books? Yeah, like have you done any of that? Like,
no, not really. Like I said, it's been kind of laid back and chill. Yeah. So
because you're gonna have so much support with grandparents and shit.
Yeah, I just have this feeling that it's just everything's gonna go fit into place and work good. So obviously there's gonna be bumps and whatnot. So
and I feel like also another advantage you have too, and probably what makes our situations a little bit different for our experiences. You had nieces and nephews around all the time when you're growing up, right? Like I've never really had the closest I ever had to like having a kid around like that was my high school girlfriend, Kaylee. Her sister had a kid, and that was kind of the closest I ever came, right? And I loved kids. I was just would only interact with like other people's kids because I was always the youngest of my family group, right? Like on that side. And then after that, I got to see, my cousins, they all have kids now and that, but you only see them every couple months. So I never got to be around for the day to day. So I feel like I'm so excited to have kids, but I'm also so scared of learning all those things. Like I've never been around a baby for more than a couple hours, right? Like I've never actually spent a full week.
With Keelan,
yeah, exactly.
Baby,
so maybe
I guess maybe that's where I'm kind of
brings a little bit more of that confidence too. Yeah, for sure. And I think knowing that you both have some real support in the form of your parent, right? Like I can't imagine Benny and Lori aren't going to be all the time, right?
My mom and dad, I'm sure will be up lots. And
Dana's the eternal babysitter. Yeah, she loves babies so much she'll steal them anytime she can, right?
Yeah, I was already telling Jamie that it'll be a little vacation when we go there.
Well, that's what's perfect, right? Like Simon just had a kid, and over the years, every time somebody has a kid, we always say like, if you ever need a babysitter, like Dana will absolutely take your kid whenever you want, and nobody's really taking her seriously, right? Which pisses her off because she really does just want to have kids around all the time. This isn't a joke. So now Simon has a kid. Now when they want to go to the city or something, they know, oh, Dana's right there. Go to Costco, go to IKEA and that, and just she gets to live in cloud nine for gets 3 hours of baby time. Yeah. It's like finally somebody's taking her serious. So I'm excited to see some of my friends start. Especially even Courtney's friends now. Like she's been telling like, no, like anytime you want to, just drop your kid off here.
I'm telling you,
if you got something to do, she will do it like it's no one's business. So that's
another thing too. Speaking of Simon and like having a baby like him, it's kind of a baby boom right now. It seems like a lot of friends or people that I know have gone through the process between Kobe and Megan, Willigan, Briggs and Brittany, those kind of people. So Gunk.
He's got a few kids now. Holy man.
No kidding. Yeah. So there's a lot of people you can talk to or that if I run into an issue or a question or something, right? Yeah. So and there's always going to be a learning curve too, right? There's some things where just take it as it is. So
and that's the thing. If you read every baby book and watched every YouTube video and all that stuff, there'd still be learning lessons.
Absolutely.
Like you still got to learn that shit.
Unique individual. That's
100%. And especially being able to. I think sometimes people depend too much on those books, and a lot of raising kids is emotion, right? Like parenting can't be found in any book, right? No. And I feel like people get too caught up in that. They can do themselves a disservice and do their kids a disservice by not listening to the grandparents, not listening to the people that have been through it and have, that works and that's by the book, but you do this little trick or, like those little things, jolly jumpers and all that stuff, like those are where the real pearls of wisdom come from, right?
Absolutely.
Like, and you hear those and
especially growing up on a farm, that was kind of how we were, just do your own thing and learn your lessons, right? Learn where you're not supposed to do and what you are supposed to do. So I've never asked you about this. Is kind of crazy to me that I'm just realizing that I've never asked you about growing up on the farm at all. Yeah. Like, I have no. So like, what kind of farm was it? Like, it was like dad's full-time position. Like that's what we were. We're farmers, right?
Like, and I feel like I don't even picture Clarence as a farmer either. Like I always think of him as an oil and gas guy. Like that's so weird to me.
Yeah, he was. He did the rodeoing stuff.
Right.
Up, like
oh yeah, he's told me some crazy stories of that shit.
Yeah,
he
was an old farmer for a while there for a bit. But all friends and stuff like that were all farmers too, right? That's just what
that's what you
grew up doing. Small town was. Yeah. So couldn't quote how many head of cattle or anything we had,
but it was a cattle farm. Right?
Yeah, it was
like Ingo grew up on a pig farm, right? And that's a little bit different than some of the other ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was cattle farm, and things I remember is like when you have calving season and stuff, we would always get a calf, Kurt and I and Steph, and we'd raise it. Like it would be like by the house or whatever, our trailer. And, many times we'd have the calves inside the house, even like when it's super cold and all that stuff. I wish I had pictures like that. That's one thing I miss the most about house burning down.
Yeah,
is the old pictures like that. Like we used to have it's a big like old treasure trunk or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was full of pictures. That's one thing that
that's
the only thing I would take from a house. Like if I knew that our house was going to burn, would be that, because so many memories in there. It's just crazy. So
and the unfortunate thing about the Slave Lake fire too is we'd been through that so many times where shit got hairy, but it never ended up coming into town. That people were complacent with it, right? Of not doing that stuff, right? Like
having it ready to go, sort of thing.
Having it ready to go, right? Because that's something that we used to do, right? Like in the summers, we every time it would get kind of close, we'd just do those kind of things. Just let's take all the let's put in a big Tupperware thing, all the photo albums and a couple things, passports, right?
Yeah.
So in the Slave Lake fire, both Ingo and Dana were out of town. It was just me and Courtney here, and we were trying to go through that too, of like us kids trying to figure out what do we take? What do we take? Like what's important? I don't really know. And Courtney's back was fucked up, right? Like she has ankylizing spondylitis or something. I don't know. I call it ankle-loosing spoodle doodles. That's my colloquialism for it. Doodle. Yeah, the dipsy. Oh my fuck, that was another good story. So she's like, I remember we were trying to pack up our little camper van thing to take out, because we're thinking, we can pack the most stuff in here, and then if we need to like stay on the side of the road, we could, right? We're just thinking all this crazy shit, right? As kids, you just don't know what you're doing, you're just trying to prepare. And I just remember seeing her like trying to carry something out there and just absolutely limping, and I was like, fuck, like go lay down, like I can do this, right? Like I'm 16 at that point, but that was scary because I feel, even though as a younger brother, I always felt protective, right? Like you gotta, it's your sister, right? You have that, even though you're younger, you have that protectiveness. So I was all fucking fucked up, didn't know what was going on too, right? Like, fuck. I remember driving out of town and just seeing that fire there, and I was just so sure that I didn't even think about I thought it's still burning out, and with all the smoke you couldn't see that, there's no way it got to Travis, but like Clinton's house, I was like, there's no way. Where Clinton's house is, there's a fireball, right? Then I remember just pulling maybe 5K out of town or whatever up by the hill, and we just pulled over with the Millers right in there crying. We're giving them hugs because they didn't know, right? Absolutely. Like fuck, like. Yeah. Just
she was a rough go.
Yeah, it was, and it's funny to think back now of, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
so much shit has happened since then. Like so much growth that we've all had. We're all such different people. But then you try and put yourself back. That was the biggest thing when I first had Jamie Coots on here and talking with him about the story. Like, because it's so painful, you don't usually sit and talk about it, right? And you don't go back and reminisce. Like, man, there was so much shit I forgot, and so much of that you just don't even realize until you put yourself back there, and then you can start to. It brings back all those emotions, though, right? Like,
big time.
That whole conversation with Jay, I was just straight goosebumps, man. Like, just like because you just brought back to those times of what it is, and you just feel those same feelings for probably like 5-6 years after. If I smelt that fire smell, like it just I'd get shaky. Like I don't know if you feel that too. Fuck, it was.
It was brutal, man. Yeah, leaving town, we were like in the vehicle. We were in that big lineup, man.
Right.
And like the park across, like where dog park is now.
Yeah.
That was all just engulfed in flames. And,
holy fuck.
Yeah, you can't even turn your like AC on. Like it's so hot. Yeah. Even with flame not that close to you, you're still sweating in your vehicle. You feel like you're gonna cook to death.
Yeah.
But can't turn your AC on because it blows smoke in there. It was something out of a movie for sure. Yeah,
I know. And then for everyone saying after this will never happen again, with like all the entire province of Alberta has, but and then Fort Mac, like what, 2 years later or something?
Yeah.
It's
freak
tough.
Of nature.
Freak of nature. That's the thing. Like, what are the odds you can have winds like that? Because that was the biggest thing. Was just how windy it was, right? Like that's what whipped everything up, made it so crazy. It was just fuck.
Yeah.
And then it creates its own wind, right? Because it's just the force of it sucking air in, right? And then that. It's like a convection of it, right? You talk about it being hot. They were saying there was a fucking like 100 degrees in town.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like, yeah. Glad I'm not a firefighter. Hey? Fuck. Yeah, those guys doing that.
Give them props for sure.
Yeah, no shit, going through that, and that's what pissed me off too, is people talking shit after. Oh, this firefighter saved their own. Fuck you. You're going through that shit. Like they're just doing the best they could. They're just trying to make it out of there and like do something to help whatever it was, right? They saved their own house, whatever. Who knows? Like,
no kidding.
There's no control over what happened there. There's no rhyme or reason to it. You'd see 2 houses burned, 1 house not burned, then 2 houses burned on the other side of it, and just one standing in the middle.
Sure.
Nothing made any sense.
No, it was doing its own thing, right?
And if you try and make sense of it, you're just going to cause yourself pain trying to make sense of the make sensible.
Yeah.
Not the best word. That'll play.
That'll do.
You can tell I speak for a living, hey? Oh, my vocabulary is just grown.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Oh, good times, man. Good times. Fuck. Yeah.
Well, I might take a quick leak here.
For sure. Well, let's have a quick leak, and I'll just see if I can remember how to pause this thing and not turn it off. I've done that mistake before.
Sounds good.
We back, baby. I don't even remember what we were talking about. But,
I had to get that one out of me.
Oh, you got it. We had a bunch of baby bladder friends. The Discovers are famous.
Oh, man.
Every road trip, you got to make sure you take a couple stops. We've had a couple guests have 3-4 pee breaks. So you're not testing the limits by any means.
No, good. Not setting any records.
No. I know we've already covered the dirt biking thing, but like you said, I mean, we gotta talk about the
elephant in the room,
the famous race,
the firmer,
the old firmer. Yeah. So, how long had you been racing for at that point?
I think it was just that year. Like that was the first year that I was actually racing.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, we went down to Alex there. The funny thing was, I was getting more serious or enjoyed biking a lot more.
Yeah.
So
you were winning some races. You were doing really well too.
Doing well and stuff. Or enjoyed it. So then we went to Honda there, and we were always close with the Monahans and stuff. And we were looking at going like upsize, and I was on a 125, and I was looking to go to like a 250 sort of thing.
Which is a big bike.
Yeah. So they
ended up. And how old were you at that point?
16 maybe.
Right. Yeah. You were a big kid at 16 though. Could probably handle that.
Yeah.
Be a lot of bike, but
so they ended up giving us like their demo bike, like each dealership gets a demo bike.
Yeah.
So had it out or whatever, and it was the intention of buying it or trying it and see what happened. And so went to that race, ended up doing the first day fine, and then the second day there.
And you were racing different bikes in different classes. So dirt biking, it goes by like the size of the engine of the bike.
CC,
so it's not by age or nothing. It's by
CC, and then also
there's
a skill level. Yeah, there's like beginners and then juniors.
So like what were you?
Can't remember. I think that was like it was probably beginners because it was like the big bike. First time I kind of went into the big bike.
For sure.
So I was in the beginner class, which that right there you kind of have an issue with just guys that are like not very good.
Yeah,
like
you got the Knicks out there.
Guys, but, which is all good. Like whatever they want to race, you got to start somewhere too, right? So, anyways, this race they called it a stack gate. It was like 40 DIs or something like that. I think 42. They even had guys on the outside of the gates.
Whoa!
So it was like a huge race. This Alex, and the start gate's that big where they can hold that many people.
Wow. I thought it was in town here.
No, this was down in Alex. So that's down by Red Deer.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So gate drops, we go off, and it's big track, like kind of like Slave, like big hills where lots of blind spots for fans and stuff like that. So I guess is kind of what I'm going off of by my parents. So went down into this gully and we hit this big step up, and the guy behind me ended up hitting me in the air, like kicking the ass end. I did a big endo going off. So I just landed the way I landed and whatnot, ended up breaking my femur, long story short. Fuck. And I remember my parents said the announcer came on and said there's a big crash, and they never seen me come back around. So they knew I was in it or whatever. So obviously the panic set in and they came running over there. And I just remember, like first person, I just remember like coming conscious, and I tried getting up or whatever, and one leg, like my broken leg was on the other one. And I just remember like the top half, because it broke right in the middle, like in half. And I remember the top like moving, and I couldn't move my like lower part of my leg to lift it off my other leg. And then I passed back out, and then the next I came to was like my dad holding me there, and they were putting me on like a stretching board. Or a stretcher board, sorry. And they have to pull it, because what happens when you break it, the muscles contract. And then that's, it gets pretty gruesome.
Blacked out again there, probably.
Yeah. So they had me on laughing gas at that point. And I remember you would pull on it until you passed back out.
Yeah.
But I remember I came back to again, and they had, it's just like a big spring sort of thing. And they stretch out your leg. And I remember him like winding on it. And, there was just all that gross stuff. So ended up getting onto the side by side where they took me over to the ambulance, and got in the ambulance, and my mom and I think my grandma hopped in, and we were driving. We went to Red Deer, I believe, first. And that was the longest trip of my life. And then they scoop you on that board, and they can't move you after. So I had a bunch of gravel, like from the dirt bike track or dirt or whatever on my back. Couldn't move. So I think for 3 or 4 hours, probably even longer than that, I was sitting with this dirt,
gravel in your back and shit. Oh,
yeah. It was.
And you probably had to go right into surgery.
They took me to Red Deer, and then they couldn't do anything in Red Deer. The flip side to that is the accident was so bad. I think there's like 5 other guys that were severely injured.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like because it caused the big mayhem just because how full that gate was. So they ended up sending me to Edmonton, got the surgery, and then it was all recovery from there.
Yeah. And you missed quite a bit of school, hey? Like,
school.
You couldn't do it because they couldn't cast it.
Yeah, it was, I think 6 months or something like that. And I think it was supposed to be longer than that. I just had a quick recovery being young or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I remember thinking like, oh, you were back at it way sooner than we thought.
Even hockey, I came back. I wasn't supposed to play that whole year, but ended up coming back a lot sooner than I was supposed to, which is surprising because I didn't do any physio, believe it or not. Like, obviously, a break like that, a guy should be doing physio or something. But
just I think natural athlete, hey?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it was just because the drive was at the basket to do that the amount of times he did, it was just too overwhelming or whatever. So
better shit to do.
Yeah. So.
I just remember seeing you when you first got home, like they couldn't cast it, but so you'd be on the couch there in the basement, and we'd come, at lunches from school and come see you and stuff, and just like trying to help you up just to walk you to the bathroom, right? Like, yeah, exactly. Fuck, that was like, it's not like, you break your foot or whatever and you get a cast on and it hurts a little bit, but you can actually
move around a bit.
Around. You were like, you were fucked up. Like, you probably didn't leave the house for.
No, yeah. I remember, I think the first time you guys came, I don't know if you were there, but for sure Lance was. Yeah. They came to the front door. My old bedroom used to be right by the set of stairs there. Yeah. And I remember the doorbell ringing and I got so pumped that I like got up and I scooted to the front of the stairs, but I don't know if I got up too soon. I got kind of lightheaded and I remember falling backwards and catching myself with my broken leg, like putting a bit of pressure on it. And it made like a weird little sound. It was probably nothing, but right back to bed and had to send the guys home after that. They didn't even get to really say hi.
Oh, I think I remember that now you say that.
Oh, yeah. My mom wasn't too impressed with me, but it was just so nice to
see the somebody. Boys. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. And that was something that I always found cool at all that was, I don't know if cool is the right word, but so you missed a couple months of school, hey? Like, yeah. And what I found so impressive with that is you're such a charismatic guy that you were able to, wheel and deal with the teachers and stuff to still get through that. Cause like, everybody just loved you so much and we wanted you to do well and stuff, but just the fact that you could miss that much school and just, carry on. And I think that is a testament to who you were, not like anything, the school did or anything. I think people just like, we liked you. Thanks, you're a good guy. And I found that was one of the coolest parts of it to me. It was just like, I think that was anybody else. Like, you might have had to redo a year of school or something.
Well, they definitely sent the homework home, but I'm not a do it by myself at home.
I didn't think so. How much of that homework they sent home?
As soon as you got thrown on the bed there, it was, my leg hurts.
Yeah. Oh, can't do it today. Yeah. This is a recovery day, Mom. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. But I'd ask you that for a reason because I feel like that is something that maybe we connect on. I think I have a bit of that too. We're both, we know how to schmooze and we know how to bullshit. And I feel like that's both very apparent in both of our dads, right? Like, yeah, big time. Clarence and Ingo can go to wherever you want, anywhere on the world and find friends. Like, you leave them for an hour somewhere, they got 10 friends, right? That's for sure. That's where that is.
People person.
Yeah. And I feel like that was something that me and you probably connected on right away because we both had a bit of that. And I think I find that it serves me so many places, right? Like that skill is so applicable. It helps at work, obviously. But
that's my job. Pretty much, right? Do the sales part of it and whatever. So that's what I feel like is my strong point. Like you say, one-on-one or a small group setting, I feel like I'm just in my element. Like I love it, right? Yeah. Big groups, not a huge fan. Like I'll ease into it. Big groups with friends, sure.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like the parties back in the day when it was like everybody peripherally, right? You could still have that, and it's about once you get a little bit past that, right? And I think that's natural for everybody, right? And that was always me too, where like I definitely was the same way. But then when I got to the big group, I would want to, but I wouldn't want to say I'd want to. So I never would, right? I would always just kind of hold on.
Everyone thinks you're a liar. Huh? Everyone would be like, that guy doesn't want to talk to people. He's a liar. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, no shit, eh? That's funny.
No, that's good. Yeah. Like I say, that you need people like that because it brings other people out of their shell for sure.
Yeah, you need those
in that group.
Yeah, you need those glue guys, right?
Absolutely.
They bring everything together. That was always something in sports that I don't think gets enough play, right? Like I think that's so much when you look back on the like just use NHL for example, the teams that have won the Stanley Cup in the last 20 years. Yeah. One of the biggest common factors between it's not like you can point to goaltending, defense, forward, right? You need to have that game breaking forward, right? Like everyone has all these things. It seems like the guys that had the most fun together and were partying harder off the ice together were the teams that went the furthest and did the best, like that Tampa Bay team, that Ovechkin Capitals team, right? Like those LA Kings teams back in when they went on their run, they weren't that good of a team, but they just were so tight knit and had so much fun together that's what it was, right? And I feel like, to me, I'm curious when professional sports teams, because they're always looking for a leg up, right?
Yeah.
If they can find thing that's going to make you 1% better, they're going to do it. I wonder when they're going to tap into that and start doing things purposely to try and create that and make sure, like, you know, you might bring on a Keith Yandel onto your team, even though he doesn't fit, because you know he's a big goofball and he's going to be awesome for the guys in the room. Or that's the biggest thing for Toronto right now. You see what Joe Thornton did for that team.
Yeah,
like,
exactly, man.
He's obviously a good player, and you can't take away anything against his skill and what he's done as a career. But so much more than that. It's just the whole. It looks like a whole different team when you injected him into it. And I was like, shit. Yeah. Because when you listen to like Spittin' Chicklets and how all these NHL guys talk about Joe Thornton, you knew that's who it was going to be. And I was like, as a definite Leaf hater myself, you know, fuck you, Kurt. I was like, shit, I hope that doesn't work. I hope it doesn't, you know, it doesn't mesh like I think that's going to do. And
sure enough, it did.
Sure enough, you see them go out there first couple games, they're already dipsy doodling, back passes and shit. And
for sure. Having fun. Yeah.
Yeah, they're having fun and you can see it and they're enjoying it. And when Joe Thornton scores, the way that team lights up and gets so excited like that, you can't,
for sure, man.
You can't pay for that. You can't draft that. You can't, like, you need to be conscious of it and realize the weight that it has. And I feel like some teams probably do, but I just don't think to the degree that it matters, people aren't doing it yet. Like, I feel like we're going to start to see those guys. You might even bring a guy on that barely even plays, right? I think actually the Oilers, when they went on that playoff run, I think they had that Hendricks guy where they'd put him in the lineup to take warm-ups and stuff, but they would never play him in the playoffs, right? Because he wasn't all that good. But, you know, but the boys loved him and they got him fired up, so they'd always keep him around. I feel like shit like that is invaluable. I think you need shit like that to have a good team. And that was always what was so fun about us playing hockey back in the day is we got to grow with those teams and, you know, same guys you're playing with every year. And I was a little bit off of that schedule because I was that overage.
Right.
So one year I'd be with, you know, you guys, my friends, but then I'd move up a year and I'd be with, you know, the year ahead of me and all those guys, right? Especially like midgets when, you know, you're going up to year, what would you be, 14? Yeah.
I'm not even sure.
I think I was 14 at that point, going up into a league that's 15 to 18-year-olds. So you're 14 playing against 18-year-old men, right? Like, it's like, holy fuck, right?
He's at the bar right now.
Right. And the nicest thing that I had throughout that was I was always a big dude. I wasn't too worried about it. But I had Clinton Miller, same situation.
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
not a huge dude, especially back then. Right? He's filled out a lot since then. But when he was 14, he was a little kid.
Yeah,
right? Like,
big time.
And for him to go in that, and he would never really, I don't know if he was scared. I've never asked him, but he didn't seem to be, you know, worried about that stuff. You know, he's a pretty hard-nosed little bastard. Wasn't going to get pushed around by nothing, right? But just that's a big jump for kids to have to take. You know, that's a huge age swing. Yeah. Just to, but that's what I'm saying is kind of you had two different groups of people to play hockey with, right? Every second year, you kind of got your different group, right? So then
for sure.
I would always feel a bit left out when I'd move up a hockey year and you and Lance and all those, and Becker would always be on those wicked teams. And I'd be like, fuck, you know, I'm up with these guys. Yeah. Can I get help back, please?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, for sure, man.
You know, but also on the flip side of that, you get the positivity. I had two separate groups of good friends, right? Like I got to
diverse, for sure.
Yeah, you got to play with Drew and Riley and Gunk and all those guys for a year, and then go back and play with you guys and Monahan and, you know, all you guys for a year, and then kind of switch flop. I kind of got a full, and then that last year of midgets, all the groups kind of catch up because there's that 3 year instead of the 2, right? So we all got to play together, and that was pretty fun. Till the Wolves folded, and then I had nothing to play.
Yeah, true.
I was so sure I was going to get an overage that year.
Yeah.
Because I typed up this like 2-page letter to the minor hockey and stuff. Like I said, like, I've never been suspended. I've never been in a fight. Like I don't even score. It's not like it's going to be letting some demon of a guy score. And I just love the game, right? Like I was like, oh, for sure I get this.
Yeah.
But they
negative.
Said, well, they said due to the numbers of people at the tryouts, right? Because we always had tons of people come in from out of town to try out and slave, right? And none of them ever stayed. Even if they made the team, they always left after a month and never showed up, which sucked. Yeah. And I think that happened that year where there a couple guys made the team that ended up not even showing. I was like, man, like the fun we could have had. Yeah. And it was great. You know, like me and Clinton hunted lots that year.
That's
and
true,
kind of got into a whole bunch of different things. Maybe got skiing a little bit more and definitely worked a whole fuck of a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, just had the opportunity to when you guys went on a road trip. What was I going to do? You know, like,
might as well get
yeah.
Need some clothes money here.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck, no shit. Yeah, those French Connection sweaters don't come cheap. Fuck. God, I still kick myself so much for that. Like, what the fuck were we thinking? All those expensive clothes.
Dumb kids.
Oh, man. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. What the fuck else, brother?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm drawing a blank here, dude.
Yeah, what have we covered? Parenthood, dirt biking, quadding, skidooing, moving, hockey, the fire. Been through a lot, brother.
Yeah.
Been through a fucking lot.
Yeah, there's a lot
Seen a lot of things.
Sure.
What are you excited about? What's on the horizon? I mean, obviously the kid, that's kind of the big thing that takes the next couple of years, but
work's really, pretty pumped about work right now. Lots of stuff going on with work, with all that Martin Hill stuff going on.
Right. So. Martin Hills is really taking off. And what is your favorite part about that work? Because I mean, I've seen you do a couple different things and you've enjoyed them a little bit, but it seems like sales is kind of your bread and butter. And like we talked about, that charisma that you have definitely is a good fit, but what specifically about it? What do you enjoy?
I just like, the self-reliance, like it's just kind of on your own, doing your sort of your own thing, but you obviously still have someone that you communicate to, but that and I don't know, that's most of it.
The freedom,
that's the word I'm looking for. Sorry.
And that's the same thing that I found was definitely when I got into this role of definitely have people you're accountable to, but in how you do it, it's up to you, and that was the best part. And I feel like that was what a lot of what was preventing me from seeing some of the other things. I was so happy to have that because that's all I wanted, right? Like
for sure.
In any job, that was pretty much like, I feel like I could do any job and do a pretty good job at it, right? Like that's just who I am. I'm hard working, whatever you put me at. But that's what I was looking for, is that freedom, because that's always what I liked about Ingle, right? Like when I'd watch him do it, it didn't seem like anybody was telling him what to do, right?
Yeah,
his famous line is, everybody's got a boss. And, the more I get into the real world, the more you realize that is a very true statement. Everybody's got a boss. But at that time, I didn't see that. So that was always something that I valued super highly. And I was so happy to have that freedom and to be able to, just not have I don't like being told what to do.
Oh, yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, especially come from the job that I was being, like with Eagle Tech, their apprentice electrician. Right. You're the bottom of there. No, I shouldn't say that. Like good guys and everything, but
that's still, just how the world works. And you have to be the bottom of it, and that's how it works. And that was the same thing, like working in the C-store in the shop and shit. You start off at that bottom. Again, I didn't like that, right? Like it was like, I'm going to work hard, and but the fact that you're going to tell me what to do and be, like that's,
especially if you feel like you can do it better, right? Like time efficiency. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge time efficiency guy. So
me too.
To have my own schedule and do it the way I need to do it is huge, man.
That is, you can't put enough on that. I mean, I think I feel like sometimes I'm almost autistic about that. Like
I do too.
Like
feel that too.
That efficiency shit about like doing stuff. Like I'll lose my mind. Like just like, if my girlfriend's putting away dishes and she walks the long way around the counter, like it fucking drives me nuts. Like I can't handle it. And like I'm so I try to be more chill about it. And that's the nice thing. Alyssa, has no sense of time, stress, things. And I am absolutely that way. Opposite. So she helps pull me that way, right? But then there's times where, like trying to leave the house if we're going somewhere, right? Like that's always, we need to be on the road by 12, right? Yeah. 12:30. Can I just wash these strawberries for the dry? Like, I'm going to kill you, right? But like, get in the fucking car. Exactly. I'm fucking halfway down the road already. She's running to catch up, like shit like that. But it's good because you find that balance of what it is, because, I think that served me. I'm really happy with having that, as much as sometimes it might get away from me and it's a little bit unhealthy, but I feel like the times where it does work for me, that's what makes me so good at lots of the things I do, is that efficiency and how to do things better and working smarter, not harder, right? Like I feel like for a long time, I always just said like, I'm so lazy, right? I always frame it as lazy, and I am, but I think now lately I think it's less lazy and more, I want to do things the least possible effort. For sure. To do things is how I want to do things. And
to the best of its ability. Yeah.
And I found that reframing that as, that's just my laziness, has allowed me to be better at it and kind of use it and, kind of weaponize it, almost like that's a superpower to have that. If you're going to be stressing over it anyways, might as well use it to your best of your ability.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, man.
And to find a company that can allow you the freedom to run with that. Yeah, that's huge. And that's what makes you happy at the end of the day. If that's what you value and that's what you found, fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like so many guys just don't know what they value. So they can't say like, that's good that you can articulate that freedom means a lot to you, because now you can go seek it out, right? And find what done. But some people just take it, or they get stuck in a job where they don't know even what it is, but they hate it. They don't know why they hate it even, right? They don't know what it is about that job.
No challenge to it or something, right?
Yeah.
Like that seems to be the biggest thing. And
no challenge.
That's one thing, like even after 7 years, I'm still learning about this, right? Or things with it. So that's, it's crazy to think about, saying 7 years has been doing it. Like,
I can't believe you've been doing it for 7 years.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
That is.
So you started down in Drayton Valley, so I did it down in Drayton Valley for 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, so
that's what I'm missing there, because to me, that when you moved down to Drayton Valley, you just went on pause. You didn't do anything in my world. Right?
Like, I had no idea. Like,
right? Like I had no idea what you were doing. Right? Like always had the plans to go down there and visit. And just life gets busy and it's tough. So like when you came back up here, to me that was when you started. Right?
Yeah,
that was
absolutely back to the norm.
Yeah, that's funny that I never realized that you struggled that much when you moved down to. I'm sure we talked about it a little bit, but not to that
probably
degree.
Not. No, I haven't really talked to many people about it. But yeah, it was just tough for that reason. Plus the long distance with Jamie, like I was traveling every weekend, and like,
which was same with being in GP, being away because now I'm only away from these, but then she's in Winnipeg too, right? Like, it's hard to stick at.
Yeah, that is for sure. Yeah, a lot of miles was put on, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was glad that's over, but it just made our relationship stronger, obviously, to do that for that long. And that's where we are now. So
no, that's great, and I feel like that's it's something that we're now adjusting to, because I think we never had. You guys were together, then went to long distance, then went back together.
Yeah.
We started right. We met on that Europe trip, right? Yeah. And then started dating after, and we were never together. So for our first 3 years of our relationship was long distance, or it'd be long distance till the summer, and she'd get off of school and she'd come live with me for the summer and then go back to it. So we'd have like 4 months of living together and then go back to that, and then
everything's all pretty roses for 4 months until you get the long living together.
Exactly,
you learn each other a lot different, right?
100%. But that's a big difference too. Like now, since she graduated last fall, I don't know, whenever she graduated and moved in full time, that's a very different thing, right? We lived together for almost a full year of time before that, just with the summers put together.
Yeah.
But it's very different than the long haul of living together. And that was those little things like being ready for the car and stuff, and like finding out what means something to you, because you do it once and it doesn't really matter to me if we're on time, right?
Do it consistently,
right. And then you find out that it upsets you, and you have those conversations like, hey, that hurts my feelings and we can't be on time. I value it, right? Like, and then you grow from it and then it gets better. And
absolutely.
Same with me, right? All the shit I do, I'm a hard guy to live with. I think could be, putting it lightly, maybe, just how I do things and my mindset about, same with those, the efficiency stuff, but just why I do things. I have a really thought out reason for why I do everything, but it doesn't make a lot of sense except to me. Right?
Yeah,
and I could take 10 minutes and walk you through why I do things a certain way, but I get annoyed if somebody, I don't want to have to explain it. I just want people, just trust me. I do this for a reason. Just trust me, get on board, which is such a cunty thing to do.
For sure.
And I realize it's cunty. So I'm trying to balance that out of, talking like, hey, I know that's like that. So if it's a big moment, you have to talk to me and to have that back. Like if it's too much, tell me, and I'll, or if it's meaningful, I'll explain. I'll take those 10 minutes if it's meaningful and we need to understand why it is, or to balance it out. Because once you fully lay out why you do something, then if they want to do it somewhere else, now you can have a conversation about it and the reasoning behind it all. And if you need to change, right? Like, a couple things, putting some dishes away or cleaning up some clothes, right? Little things like that. You just gotta, you're not going to change everything of who you are, but there's some small things that you can get away with changing. Yeah. But unless you have those conversations of what are the small things and what are the big things, and what,
key, man.
Communication, that's the biggest thing. Yeah. Fuck, like looking back on how I communicated with exes in the past is just so funny now to look back at. Barbaric, man. Like just and the games I would play, and I was just I have so much guilt. And I've said this on the podcast a couple times. Like I almost feel like I need to call up like all my exes and just like apologize for so much shit. Like just to take it off my own chest and just like, because looking back, what a savage you are. Like it's just like playing mind games and shit, and just such childish stuff that was 100% just because I was insecure and I was worried. Right?
It's just a growing up.
It is
growing up thing.
It is a growing up thing, but then you realize it and you look back and you just like hold your head like, oh, what was I doing? No, like fuck. I just, and I feel like this is probably a piece of the podcast. It's just like, hey, everybody, look, like I'm not that same guy. Like I've changed a lot, right? Like, and I feel like everybody has that, and that is, I feel like maybe that desire in me is just a little bit stronger, right? And maybe it's just coupled with all this, like I want to be the center of attention. I want that public platform. That's always been inside me, right? But you put all those things together, and this is almost destiny that I was going to try something like this at one point, right? Like it just, I just wasn't being honest with myself for a long time about it, and I was kind of lying to myself because it was scary, right? Like, fuck, this is a big risk to take. I was terrified to do that, right? Like,
I don't blame you.
And then once I did finally order the shit and I knew it was on the way, and oh fuck, what have I gotten myself into, right? Like, no shit, right? Like I'm not going to send back $1,000 worth of equipment. Like I need to do it. Like, and that's why I did it. I was like, I got to take all, if I know my brain, and if I don't jump on this right now, I will come up with an excuse that is fully rationalized of why I can't do it. All work's too busy and all this stuff, which would make sense and would be a half decent argument, but it just wasn't what I needed at that time. So I'm glad with how I did it. And now I can't imagine what this COVID time would have been like if I didn't have this outlet, right? Like this is my favorite thing to do. And it's been tough to even having all this stuff and having my girlfriend move back in, and it's still been tough, man.
Like,
it's
a lot on the plate for sure, man.
Oh, and it's tough, but
commend
just
you for how far you've taken it. And,
thanks. I appreciate that, brother. And I do take it serious. I feel like for myself is I'm not very good at giving myself those pats on the back and looking at what I've done, because I know, but it's just because I have such a big vision for it of where I want to take it that I'm just frustrated that it's not.
It'll get there.
It'll get there. And I know that, but I constantly have to work on looking back and saying like, holy fuck, you put out 50 episodes, right? And it hasn't even been a year. Like that's some good shit. That's huge, a lot of, that's huge, but in my own head, it doesn't, it's just like, oh, but I need to do this. I need to do this, right? It's hard. And I don't know where that comes from.
And you got to think the people he inspired. Like, I got to thank you for getting me into podcasts, man. Like, I hated him. I was like, who the hell can listen to people talk for, like even Howard Stearns and stuff like that. I remember people would listen to him. Like when I was at Eagle Tech, Jason Ellis and stuff like that, Perkins would always listen to him. I'm like, man, this is terrible. Like, I don't want to hear someone talk about shit forever. And then you just started doing this, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. It's nice to hear a friend that I kind of lost touch with or whatever, but still touch. But just, like,
I know what you're saying.
Like to see where he's at, and I caught onto one, and then caught onto the Joe Rogans and stuff, and just ran with it. And learned so much, man. Like,
you learned so much, and I think that's what I think you'd just. I mean, I'm gonna have to throw the dick sucking back your way, because you know. That means a lot. A couple guys like yourself, like Matty Stab, like there's been a bunch of guys that really, you know, both publicly and privately were very supportive of this the whole time. And that's especially at times where, you know, I can't look back for myself for those things. You need somebody else to kind of give you those pats on the back. That's what reminds you of those things. And I am very thankful with that for those guys that do that kind of stuff, because, you know, that's what keeps me going. That's what makes me know it's hard, because a thing like this is you put it out in the world and you don't really know if do people like it, do people not like it, right? And it's you put so much into it, and you have so much into it, and then to get no feedback is all. I found myself, since I started this, just aching for bad feedback. I want people to tear it apart, because then at least that would be something. But
for sure,
and thankfully all the feedback has been good so far. But like, you're almost I don't know, maybe I'm glutton for punishment, but I almost find myself like waiting for the people to come after it too. And I also feel like I'm a very competitive guy, and I want people to not like it so that I can prove them wrong.
For sure.
What don't you like? Okay, I'm gonna make that better. You know what I mean? And I feel like I don't have that, and that's why I'm excited for different things. Like on last Sunday, I did a live podcast. Just I had on a guy that does streaming. So he just streamed the interview on his Twitch page while I did it. And I was thinking, oh, maybe that's the thing I need to do, maybe to raise the stakes, because I'm such a stakes guy, right? Like to stream it live, because then people can hop in the chat. If they don't like what you're talking about, they can say that shit, right? And that won't bug me, but that's a lot to ask out of a guest. But I'm just excited for different ways that I can take it and tap into certain things that because I'm the same way. I'm a competitive motherfucker, right? Like I've talked about on the podcast. So when I first started going to that Orange Theory Fitness, which is like a group workout thing, I was a fucking psycho in there. Like there was nobody in there that was going to beat me, right? Like, no, like not a chance. In my head, it was a competition. Like, and obviously it's not a competition, but to me, it was a competition every time, right? If the guy beside you grabs 15s and you're going to grab 10s, you're obviously grabbing 15s. You're not going to grab littler weights, right? And on the treadmill. Somebody cranks it up to 10 on the treadmill. I'm obviously going to 10.5. There's no way that this is happening. But it worked so good for me, because that tapped into something that, you know, that natural competitive. It was awesome. Like I dropped some pounds there. Fuck, man. Like, I was crushing it for a while. I was just hitting that up, but it just became too much of, you know, I can't schedule in my workouts. I need, like we say, I need the freedom. Just that little bit. And it wasn't that hard.
Own sort of schedule.
But like to try and book in and make sure I get an appointment of one of those slots there, it's too tough. It just doesn't match up with that freedom. I'm glad you said that, because that is something that I feel so deeply. I value that almost more than anything. I'd say, you know, like I would take a job that had that freedom and half the pay than a job that had no freedom and twice the pay. Like
for sure, someone over your shoulder 24/7.
It's so important to me. Like
critiquing you, every little thing you do, even though it's
like that's just not what you need to do. But I'm glad that again, going back to that, I think so many people don't realize what they value, because they don't want to. It's a scary thing. It's a scary question to ask yourself, because what if you find out that you value other things than what you're doing, and now you know that, and you have to change. Or you have to either go on doing the same thing knowing that you're unhappy, right? And that's a scary thing to do. Or you need to make a change, which is also scary. So many people don't even check in with themselves. What is value? What part of this job do I like? What part do I not like? Is there a better way to do it? People are just so unaware of it, and that worries me.
You get tunnel vision, right?
You get tunnel vision, and something that I worry about, I don't know, this is maybe just me overthinking things, but in a place like Slave, I feel like there's so many things that are just like the thing to do, right? Like quadding, drinking, hitting the VLTs at BPs. And I those are all enjoyable things. I think it'd be hard not to enjoy them, right? It's just a fun thing to do. But I wonder how many people just take that on as a personality
Yeah.
without exploring what they enjoy, right? Like I know a lot of the guys, but I'm sure if we went out even with our friends within our friend group, I'm sure there's a couple guys in there that if it was up to them or if they were honest with themselves, there'd be a couple other things they'd rather do on a weekend, right? But they just don't open up, and that's the basic default, right? Like one thing that's been eating at me lately is watching the Oiler games and seeing that the VLTs, the online VLTs that they have, like the Alberta thing and how they market them. And I'm just thinking like, man, I wonder how many people are just sitting at home on those right now.
Oh, I know, man. It's crazy. Even you look at the 50-50s, like it's crazy how high they are, right?
It is, right? Which is great. And that's
going to a good cause, yeah.
And it's going to a good cause.
That's a tough one to argue, but
I just, I don't know. I feel like there's such a social cachet on gambling and certain things and drinking and a bunch of bad habits, which is natural with everything. And it's not like it's a bad thing by any means for a lot of this, but I just wonder how many people aren't equipped for that and just do it and maybe have a bit more struggle with the balance of it, where for a lot of guys, this is just a fun thing we do on the weekends, but then there's the one guy of the group that is, hooked, right? and at home or getting too far out over the skis with some of the shit they're doing. I just always worry about that. And maybe that's just me. I was a bit of a mother hen with all of our friends, right? Like I always worried about her friend. I worry about all of our guys. Like, are they doing good right now? Because
for sure,
there's not a lot
especially
to do.
With the way things are. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's my big worry, right? Like I think, online gambling, it's going to be there, but I just think right now to be the way the adverts go for the during the hockey, and for some reason that specifically stuck out in my head. Like, I think it's a dangerous thing to be marketing like that. This happy thing. Like it's a responsible thing too, right?
Oh,
like,
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I like gambling, but I love it with the social aspect because I think that adds another layer to it. If you are just sitting at home doing it.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's a scary thing, right? You throw $100 in the VLTs with all your friends around in a community. That's a much different thing than blowing $200 a night at home, sitting there, right? Like, I don't know. And I just wonder, like, what kind of numbers? Because I don't know, right? Like I don't play it. It's just, but that's never been my thing, right? And like I always thought I didn't have an addictive personality because I never got hooked on booze, and that was the only thing.
Yeah.
I just realized booze wasn't my thing. I have a hugely addicting personality. I've been addicted to so much shit, but because I had that thing in my head, like, oh, I don't have an addictive personality. I was so blind to so much shit I was doing. Like I've been addicted to chew. I've been addicted to sex. I've been like, and probably I'm still like, just today I saw a tin of chew sitting somewhere. I'm like, fuck, I want that. Like I haven't had a chew and chewing tobacco, for people that don't know what that is. I haven't had that in, I don't know, many years, but still it's there, right? Like, and I know I have that, but it was so silly to me just how much I was so blind to this shit that I didn't realize, just because I was like, no,
that's not an addiction.
I don't, I can drink and I'm fine. Like, obviously that means I'm fine. And I was just like, how much I didn't know. And that was the same thing. What opened me up to that was podcasts and listening to people that have actually, because I feel like with addiction, so much of the time is, you hear it talked about as an issue and you hear, oh, buddy's got a problem about it, but it's not talked about. It's so you never get the real insight of what it was. But then listening to podcasts of people that, and not just addictions, but certain things, right? Traumas, sexual assault, you never really, because it's such a touchy subject, and it's there's also no real media forms for somebody to have 3 hours to really talk about their experience deeply. Like, fuck, I found like I learned so much of, like, you listen to a real addict talk about their experience and then you'll learn so much more. Like Joey Diaz is one of my favorite podcasters. He's the funniest fucking comedian. Oh, you'll listen to one episode, you'll be hooked. He's the funniest fucking guy of all time. But he was addicted to coke for 40 years. Like, he had a crazy childhood. His dad died of an overdose when he was 5. He grew up in New York. His mom, he was high on acid and found her dead at 16 years old, and then lived on the streets for like so long until he found. Oh, this guy is the wildest, but the nicest guy, and like has the craziest stories and just so funny. But like, the things I learned from him about what that really is and like what actually goes into addiction and what the mind of an addict is like. And you have so much more compassion with all that too, because now you understand it. And you can, I think for a long time, I just thought, oh, those people are weak, right? Yeah. And I hate that I thought that way, but it was just natural. Just because I didn't feel it, I thought, oh, if you do, you're weak, right? I'm better than you, right?
Yeah.
Which is so silly.
I can fight the urge, you can.
Exactly, right? Which is so stupid to think that way. But again, just looking back, you're a kid, you don't know any better. But then once you start to know better, you think back like, oh man, like you think back all these conversations you had with people like, man, I hope I didn't put anyone on a bad path. But I just love all that I've learned starting to listen to podcasts. And
for sure.
And I remember you texting me and saying like, oh man, I started listening to some Rogans, like I'm learning a lot. And I said to you, like, just wait, like the more you get into it, the more you learn, it's going to start to compound, and you're going to start seeing it show itself in,
for sure,
in business interactions. You'll just have that small piece of knowledge or just a little bit a better idea of how that conversation flows, and you pick up stuff. Like I found when I started listening to podcasts, I learned more in the first probably 6 months of listening to podcasts heavy than I learned in 4 years of university.
Yeah, hey.
Easily. Like not even close. Right. Let me caveat that by saying the schoolwork of the university. I learned a ton out of the classroom in university that maybe doesn't compare, but that was my own, was my own doing. I think I would have learned those lessons anywhere, and it was usually at the bottom of a bottle. But like, I just found that the learning curve, and that was always my biggest struggle with school, right? In high school, I would do awesome in classes if it was engaging, right?
Yeah.
If I didn't really care about it, I'd put in the minimal effort, right? Like I never studied once. I didn't do all that shit, but it was.
Hear you loud and clear on that one.
Oh,
sure.
100%. But if it was a subject where I liked it, right, and I got into it, I'd get great grades because it was interesting. And I found that with podcasts, because you were seeking it out and you're finding the guys like, oh, I like Joe Rogan, I like how he talks, so I am choosing to do this. I am interested in it, and it's interesting stuff. That difference, I learned so much more because I'm actively engaged. Whereas if somebody was forcing me to listen to a podcast and I didn't like, it's all just going to go in one ear and out the other, just like it did with all those teachers I didn't respect. Couldn't learn from them because I didn't respect them because I thought I was smarter than them.
Yeah.
Just like I had struggled in gym class with that one gym teacher we had there. I won't name his name there, but because he couldn't fucking do the workouts. Like, obviously not. You're faking tying your shoe all the time because you can't do a 10-minute run before. Like, fuck you. I'm in better shape than you.
Yeah.
Right? So I could not listen to it. And it was the same thing intellectually with these teachers where like, I get in a fight with you and I feel like I would get the better of it. Like I understand these subjects better than you do. Like I can't listen to you. What am I going to learn? Right. And that was a very bad mindset. I think the better mindset is just to keep yourself in a place where you can learn from anybody.
For sure.
Right. You had to learn some things to learn that. Right. and then
Catch 22, man.
100%. But once you start to realize like, oh, if you go into things open to learning, like that's a thing you actively have to try for. It's a skill you have to develop, is being open to learning from everybody.
Yeah.
Fuck, you just hop on a rocket ship. Like you're so much better off. And that's
for sure.
And that's what I said a couple times with this podcast. I'm not even looking for it to be super popular, all that stuff. Like what I would like even more is if someone tells me like yourself that I listened to your podcast and that started me listening to Joe Rogan, or I listened to your podcast and I started listening to whatever. That's what gets me excited. It's like, I've now brought somebody into this amazing world that helped me so much.
Absolutely.
Right? And like, I'm hoping that, it'll help me. Yeah. 10 years from now, I'll be at a point where I'm doing that for people too on a grand scale and I have the skills, but I'm only 10 months into this whatever it is. And there's people that have been doing it for 10 years and they're really good at it.
Yeah.
And go listen to them for a while. Like if you do enjoy what I say, like that's awesome and keep listening to me. That's great. I'm never going to be mad at people listening to me. I love it. But if people doing that, that's the best thing people can tell me is, oh, I started listening to this guy that you mentioned on the podcast, right? Like Alex Friedman or the Weinstein brothers, all those guys. I just can't, it feels so cool for people to take my recommendations like that and then to get something out of it. Fuck, that makes me feel good, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I say, that's what got me started, man. And obviously I slept where I get in like music fades where that's all I listen
of course,
to.
you
like,
knew
everyone's
album comes
gonna do
out,
that. Yeah.
That's natural,
sure,
right?
For the most part, I have no problem jumping back on and catching a podcast for sure. So
and that's the fun thing too is as you get into it, you'll start to hear guests on, and everybody's different, where there's going to be certain guests that connect, and lots of the guys that come on have their own. And that's where I found my big thing was I started just listening to Rogan, right? And then every once in a while a guest would come on Rogan or maybe they'd be on a couple times, and man, I really liked them. They'd pitch their own podcast and I'll give it a try, and fuck some of the ones I found, right? And that's where I'm trying to think is I have this encyclopedia in my head of all these podcasts I listen to, like probably embarrassing the amount of that I have, right? Like I have a whole spreadsheet on my computer I can show you. It's wild. But I want to find some way where I can categorize it and have people come to it and just say like, I want a podcast that's funny, but I want to learn something and maybe is not political at all. And I can say like, oh, well, you need, this podcast, right?
Like a column. Yeah. Gotcha.
Like I want something just silly. I just want to laugh, like just a goofball, like dirty, raunchy comedy, like dumb shit. Like, oh, Your Mom's House, right? Like their podcast it's two comedians that are married, and it's they find clips on the internet that's just like the wildest shit. Yeah. It will have you laughing out of your skull. Like it is the wildest, funniest shit, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want flagrant, like just wild comedy of just like pushing all all this PC stuff and like what you can't say. If you want to see the people that are saying everything you can't say right now, Flagrant 2 podcast, which this is the merch from this hoodie I'm wearing, right? Like there's so many where I just want to find a way where I can put that out to people en masse, that if you listen to my podcast and you're, if I built up any bit of trust that you would take a recommendation from me, if I can have some sort of system where I can make those recommendations to anybody where they can maybe just, I want a podcast that has this, and this, send it to an email or something I can just pull out and send to them. Fuck, that'd be awesome. Like,
that'd be real sick.
Yeah. I got so many
I'm sure you'll figure that out, man.
I will eventually. It's just,
absolutely.
It's just about like, that's one.
You almost got to be taking the notes as you're listening to the podcast, right? Mm-hmm. So you can categorize it that way. Because I'm sure if you went back like 50 podcasts that you've listened to, it would probably mesh together. Mm-hmm. You get quite the brain though, so it might not.
I don't know. I think I like to tell people like, oh man, your memory's so great. And I'm like, man, I have the worst memory. Like I cannot remember people's names. I cannot remember. What I tell people is just, I listen to so many fucking hours of podcasts, especially when I moved to GP and didn't have any friends around. Yeah. It would be, it would be 30, 40 minutes to work, 30, 40 minutes back. So that's like an hour 20, probably a bit of driving during the day, like you probably have an hour and a half at double speed. That's 3 hours. That's a podcast. You get home at 5, listen to podcasts all the way through the night. That's 5 hours. Plus another couple. Like I was just taking in so much information that, I can parrot a couple things I heard on a podcast once and it sounds like I have a great memory. It's just like, oh yeah, I remember 1% of what I heard. I just listened to a lot of shit, man. Like it's just, I was addicted. Like full on, I talk about that addicting personality. Yeah. I am still full hog addicted to podcasts. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's a healthy I don't know. I like to think it's a healthy addiction. I could be addicted to some worse shit. Like it could be meth. Yeah. Right?
Meth podcast.
I'll take that one. Yeah. But if I did start doing meth, I could maybe make a meth podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd be rocking it.
Might go viral.
All these meth heads just tweak and listen to the podcast.
Get a couple views.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. Yeah. And that's the thing, because I think of everything like that and just what I want to build this into. I'm trying so hard not to look at the views and stuff. Right. It's so hard, man. Like you think social media is hard not to check how many likes you got on a picture. Imagine pouring your heart out for 3 hours on a podcast of like deep shit and then putting it out and just not checking how many people have listened to it too.
Absolutely.
But and then even then it doesn't matter because say 1 million people listen to it. If you don't get any feedback, you don't know if they liked it. Man. You don't know if they don't like it. Like it's just so much of it feels like you're out on an ocean, but you just got to have that. And that's where the trust in yourself that like, because of that, it all comes down to me and how I think I'm doing, which is probably for the best, right? Like if I think I'm putting out good content, which I am, I'm very proud of it, but it's, I wish I didn't have to just rely on myself. I wish there was some sort of feedback to give me some.
For sure.
And it happens every once in a while. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like every once in a while, it's got like, you'll reach out like, hey, I really like this pod. And it's just like, fuck, okay, yes. Like nice. It was people all, are there. Yeah, like people are listening. Yeah, like this is good. And they're enjoying it, right? But it's just,
it'll come. I think with these hometown stints you got there too, man, you'll get a lot of people too.
And definitely, and I can see it too. And this is the struggle because I know when I have this guy from Slave Lake on, the numbers are way better, right? Yeah. Like when I have Taylor Kellum or Chad Paulson, right? Like those are opposite because people see it and they download it, and that's
they want to relate to a story. Like I guarantee you're gonna have all the guys listen to this one.
Oh, for sure, right?
Eric and the Lances.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna be getting a text from. I'm probably gonna get a text from Eric about telling that story on the pod. Oh fuck.
Same as Lance.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's the other like
that's just one half to it. There's going to be some, like your other podcast, I'm sure there's people that out of Slave Lake that are reached to you. 100% there is, right. But that are relating a lot more than to like the little knick-knack funny stories, right?
Right. So. And I think that's one of those things where I know if I have a guy on from Slave that, is well known in town, it's going to have big downloads, but I don't want to think that way because I always want to be just, who do I want to talk to, right? It doesn't matter if it's going to get good downloads or no downloads, right? Like some of my favorite episodes haven't been big downloads. Like I had those two authors on that was so meaningful to me. And that was such a cool experience just to go through that if nobody listened to it, it wouldn't have mattered because I enjoyed it so much, right? Yeah. And that's, I find what's cool about this podcast, it's rewarding in so many different ways that even if, one of those ways isn't kicking at any point, there's always something that's booting up. There's always maybe a text that you put out or maybe a podcast you're just really proud of personally. It doesn't matter how it does, right? Yeah. You just have all these different ways where it excites you. But I definitely try hard not to fall into that trap of just, let's just have a bunch of Slave Lake guys on because I know it'll be instant. That's those shortcuts you can take. And it's
nice to get a boost once in a while. That's
for sure,
confidence boost too, for sure, right?
It is. And I like to do it, but that's what I like doing is just keeping it natural, right? Of just when it works out, like a week like this, where I can get a couple in and get some good ones, but only when it works. Don't force it. Don't
absolutely
only do Slave Lake guys because of that. That's where now you didn't
create it to do that.
Yeah, you're not looking long term. What's going to be long term is just keeping a good mix of just constantly chasing what I'm interested in, talking to me. And that's the other thing is, I've said no to 0 people to come on. Anybody that's asking, 90% of the time, it's me asking other people to come on. But I love this so much. I would do it with anybody.
For sure.
Like anybody that walks in off the street, right? It's a lot to ask of somebody, but if somebody's willing, like, and that's what I hope that as it's more people start to listen, people hear me say that on the podcast and they get the comments and say, hey, I'd do it, right? Like, I hope, after I release this one, maybe Adam Becker or one of those guys to say, hey, I'd come on, I give a crap. Fucking right. So let's go. Like we can, whatever you're comfortable with too. We don't have to do 3 hours. We can do an hour. We can do whatever, maybe you're not comfortable enough doing it on your own. So you want to bring a buddy, right? And we do a 3-manner with a couple beers. Like there's so many different ways we can do it. And I feel like I think I told you this before. I think as I expand to these different ways and people see different ways to do it, maybe a conversation that isn't too heady and is more, fart jokes and that kind of shit, maybe that opens it up to that, because definitely I lean pretty heavily into the smarter kind of topics and stuff at the start. And then every time I'd ask them, they say, no, I can't do that. I listened to it, so I can't do
I
that.
was scared. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I don't know if that's right up my realm or whatever. Obviously, knowing who you were, I knew we could get a conversation going, but off the bat, I was just like, I don't know if I want to go on there and do that. But I'm glad I did, and I'll definitely be back, man.
For sure. And I think that's natural, and I understand that, right? Like, I can see that too. If I was like, I try and put myself in their shoes, like I would see that too. But that's where I'm excited for episodes like this, where it's a little bit more laid back, right? Like I said, like my notes for questions to ask is literally fuck all. Like I pretty much wrote down nothing. I just knew we were going to come in here and have a bullshit, and it's so much fun, right? And it's just a nice catch up in that, and I'm excited to branch out a little bit more and get a little bit more, have some smart episodes, but have some fun episodes, and just like let it go where it goes and kind of let it find your own voice. I feel like so much at the start I was just trying to be Joe Rogan, right? Like, and you could probably hear
I don't blame you, man. I mean, that's what inspired you to do it, so you might as well try to do that, is what your thought is. But it's awesome to hear that you're branching off and doing your own thing, right?
And trying to find my own voice, because that's what I always hear comedians talk about. They say, like when you're starting in comedy, the first 10 years, you're doing your favorite comedian, right? They said like people were doing Bill Hicks forever. Now people are doing Dave Chappelle, and now people are doing Joe Rogan. When you go to an open mic, whoever the big comedian is, you see that. And that's the natural progression, because there's no other way in.
Because it works.
And until you learn how to do it, you can't find your voice doing something, right? Like it's like saying, what's your hockey style? If you're just learning how to play hockey, you have to learn to skate first before you can fucking figure out what your play style. Are you a power forward or a D man? I don't fucking know. I can't stop. Like, okay, come on, guys. Like, let's figure this out. So like, I'm fine really showing my influences, right? Which right now this podcast is probably a mixture of Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman. Those are the two biggest influences, not very much. But the more I do that, the more I get comfortable with this. Now I can get a little loose, right? Have a couple beers in the podcast and just see where it goes, and whatever it is, and
who knows? That might be your not stick to next round, but that might be one that you really enjoy doing, right?
And you can just keep experimenting.
Don't know until you try it.
Exactly. So that's the mode I'm in, is just open micer mode. Anybody want to come on here? Let's fucking do it. We'll find a way, right? Whatever topics you want to talk about, I don't care. I just love to talk.
Absolutely.
I do this all the time, right? Like fucking bullshitting is one of my favorite pastimes. I love bullshitting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the best. It's the best. Now I just got to keep professionalizing it and making it more serious.
I think it'll get around more for sure, man.
You're
doing a great job as it is.
Oh, thanks.
So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
You bet you would.
Fuck. What other stories haven't we hit? We talked some hockey, some dirt bike, anything else we're missing?
Quadding, everything like that.
Awesome. I'm sure we have more Skidoo stories too.
For sure.
I was thinking.
Sure, we could probably get on a few Penticton stories, but
maybe
Penn. Yeah.
Fuck. Well, I got my first drinking outing in probably 6 months since the summer with you. Fuck, I'm probably going to be just a waffle out there. But man, this summer, that night going out, I think that was one of the funnest nights I've had in fucking years, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think there's any time in Penticton you say you had a bad time or whatever. Or for myself, anyways.
100%. You enjoy it so much, but I think like at that point with COVID and all this stuff and being away, like, and just not going out and drinking that much, I just I forgot what it was like to go out and have fun and get like a little pissed up, right?
Yeah.
And that night I was kind of like, we're gonna go to a couple of my friends were up at this house having a couple drinks and stuff that night, and I was having it on, and if I wanted to go, mainly I just didn't want to walk all the way up the hill, but I figured I'll text Trav, see if you want to go, right? And I didn't think he'd say yes. He's like, fuck yeah, we're in. So
Jamie and I were half buzzed at that point.
There you go.
We were doing some drinking during the day, so that was an easy yes to say.
So I just raided the fridge through like all the fucking cans and ciders. Like I don't think I had two of the same drink in there.
Like a high school party. Man.
Exactly, just like a high school party, and it was so reminiscent of a high school party, and just the fun we had with the goofballs up there that are from BC. They're my friends that I've been friends with since I was a little kid, and to kind of introduce Alyssa and you and Jamie to them, and just the fun we had that night, and those stupid fucking life jackets that go around your ass. Oh my god! And we jumped in the pool there, like the diapers, like fuck, was that ever fun, man? And that's just I feel
everyone was wearing their clothes pretty much too. I know Jamie went in there full clothes.
Yeah.
No one was bathing suit ready.
Yeah, no shit. We just hop in, let's go.
Good times.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of a hot tub at the end there, but like, I feel like that was I needed that because I needed to learn. I feel like I was so caught up in, because I didn't have the opportunity to do things like that because I didn't have friends there. I think I was telling myself, I just don't really like that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that was just because I was being dishonest with myself because I didn't want to realize what I was missing and that I was sad that I was missing it.
For sure.
But then you do it once, you go, man, this is really fun. Like, what am I talking about? I love this shit. Like, this is so much fun, right? And just to recognize that you need that balance. And every once in a while, you got to twist it off and, have a little bit of fun. And I think that was a good lesson to be learned. You can't take anything too serious. And that was a fucking fun night. I was talking about that night for fucking weeks after. I was a bag of shit.
Feeling it.
I couldn't even go on the boat the next day. It was like 2 PM.
I was hurting, yeah.
I was like, turn around. I got to go back. I can't. I'm going to puke right now.
I'm jumping ship.
Oh, man. And the amount of times we used to fucking drink like that.
Oh, yeah.
4 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And then trying to do it nowadays. It's just, I was crippled for a week. I couldn't do anything, man.
Yeah, no shit.
Good times, though. But like you say, you can't have a bad time in Penticton.
It's always fun, for sure.
That place is absolute perfection. Like, I don't know. Going there since a little kid, I remember, because I'd go there every summer for weeks at a time. And I used to be, when probably around the time you moved to town, and I'd hear you and Lance get up to all this craziness during the summers and the parties you go to, and I'd be in Penticton and just not realizing. And then you're 20 years old.
When here, we're really jealous of you being in Penticton.
Yeah, no shit, right? And then you get older and you look back and you're like, oh man, the times I had and what I wouldn't give to be able to go to Penticton for 4 weeks, like.
Yeah, no shit.
that is I always say it's my favorite place on earth, like that specific place in Penticton that we won't name on the podcast. We want to keep it secret. No more people. It's terrible. You don't need to go there. It's Kelowna is where it's at. Everybody go to Kelowna.
Yeah.
Like that place is just so much fun. And just to grow up there, because I was there the first time we went to that campground I was not even a year old. So I've been going there every year since I was a kid, right? Like fuck. And it's just never gets old. There's never a lack of things to do. There's never anything wrong. To see,
or like good group because they've all been doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just the knowing the people at the campground and who owns the campground, you feel like you rule the place. And just, we used to have our little. I don't know if you were there at this point, but all the campers that would come up, there was always so many kids around there. There was always, every summer, there'd be a little bit of bike gang, right? Like, the kids that were always there, the regulars, and then all the kids that would come there, and we just rip around the camps with probably like 20, 25 kids on bikes, just doing laps around that place like a little gang. But just shit
scoping
like
the place.
Yeah, like just causing ruckus. Like no real pulling shit to do.
The peaches off.
The apricots. Having a crab apple fight, like shit like that. But I don't know. I feel like there's probably a lot of kids that miss out on that kind of shit, right? It's kind of that farm, that farm stuff, like the farm fun you can have, right? Like I always heard from Ingle about that shit, of like the fun shit they used to do with, climbing up on a fence and jumping down onto a big hog and trying to ride it and shit. Like that's a little rich for my blood, a little crazy, but it sounds like fun. Like,
there's a lot of stupid shit for sure.
I'm sure we could have convinced Monahan or something to do that if we had a pig farm around.
That guy was wild for sure.
We had so many wild guys that were willing to do so much shit.
He was the wildest for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He takes the cookie on that one.
Oh, of course he does. Of course he does. I still remember we were out skidooing that one time. What's that called where you climb a tree?
Colorado.
Yeah. So if people don't know, there's this thing called Coloradoing, or where you, if there's deep snow around, you climb a tree right up to the top and rock back and forth until the top breaks off and you eat you into the snow. And I saw Monahan climb. I swear this tree was like 45 feet tall. And I'm like, I can barely see you up there. You're going to die. Like, chill out and just rock that shit. Like,
buddy. He did that in the summer one time. No snow. Climbed to the top of fucking tree. We were doing something. Yeah, he climbed to the top and he jumped off.
Not
or
even
something.
a river?
No.
Oh my God.
He jumped off and bear hugged a tree or something, and he rode it down, and his whole chest is all scraped up. And
kid's a nut. But like the fact that we were so lucky to have kids, I mean, we probably took advantage of it too, getting them riled up to do crazy shit. But like, we were so lucky to have just that crew that we did of all those kids. The entertainment factor, right? Like, and that's the thing. Everybody was entertaining. Like we could tell that story, but Monahan just had that brand of crazy, right? Like where he's climbing up trees and shit, but everybody had that and everyone was so entertaining, right? Like, like it seemed like our entire group all were that same level of entertainment. We all just did it in our own way. And we all, pass the torch. Like somebody's going to be the wild man. Somebody's going to be kind of the life of the party for
sure.
this hour. And then the next hour, it's going to be this guy. And then, it was, Yeah, we're very lucky to look back on that. Like just thinking about it, what kind of crew we had. It was awesome, man. Like, fuck, we had fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Speaking of your pedal bike gang, man, we put in some miles on our pedal bikes.
Oh, and
like we used to ride from Eric's parents' place to Canyon, like on pedal bikes, like no problem, like to Colby's place or whatever, right? Like, I look at that now and I'm dead just thinking about it.
No shit, like my ass would fall off. Oh my god! And obviously me, everyone, usually with the dirt bike thing, everyone got into dirt bikes, so we got Ingo got a repo trail bike 70 for me, and that was perfect, right? Yeah. Everybody got into biking. They buy these big, dual suspension, and I got this kokanee that was probably 6 inches too tall. So every time I had a jump, the nutcracker, man, fuck. And I grew into it. It was a great bike, but fuck, do you remember that time? I think it was over by St. Mary's. And this was a constant story. I was terrible at bike riding and jumping shit. Like, it just was not, like we talk about the dirt bike track. Yeah. That cowardice that's in me, it was always there. So I'd always case jumps and shit. And do you remember me going over the handlebars and smashing my teeth in on the handlebars by St. Mary's?
I don't know if I'm sure I was there. I just don't know if I remember it vaguely.
Do you remember? Do you remember? I can't remember what jump it was, but kind of by the Honda shop out there.
Construction jump.
And I finally, it was one of those jumps. It wasn't one of the crazy. So yeah, there's like a construction, the pipe gap. Like we have names for all this shit, but I was always way too scared to do any of that. So there was a smaller jump that I was even scared to hit that, and I finally did it. Yeah, and then I get to the bottom. I'm all pumped because I fucking go down this thing and I ride it out, but at the bottom was soft sand. I'd never done the jump before, so I didn't know. So I just stuck in the sand, and I go over the handlebars and my track pants rip like all the way, like down probably both knees. like I'm wearing a damn skirt at this point. Yeah. And we're on the opposite side of town, so we kept biking. I'm going around pretty much in my ginch all around town. Fuck, you guys making fun of me, like
ass hanging out.
Yeah, no shit, like fuck. That was about the time when I started wearing jeans. Do you remember I used to never wear jeans? Like when you moved to town, only track pants. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people put it together, but fuck, I was always a weirdo. Fuck, like I had so much.
That guy's comfy.
Still to this day,
I'd wear track pants everywhere if I could.
Man, like I'm the biggest comfy guy, but I think for a long time I just wasn't cool, so I kind of hit it. But now, as soon as I get home, I am
track pant in.
Not even. I am like full sweatpants or no pants and one of those giant sweaters that I got sitting right here. Those comfies. Fuck, man, I love those. Like I am such a comfort guy. Like when I go to the house, I'll be respectable. When I'm in my own domain, I am pure comfort. Whatever that is, right? Like comfiest chair, comfiest setup, right? For like sure. I like to live.
Spoil myself.
Yeah, I like to spoil myself. Why not? Why fucking not? I deserve it, Travis.
Yeah, I worked hard for this.
Fuck. But I feel like some people but it's some sort of weird tactile thing that I didn't like wearing jeans. Like I just had to do it. And I'm such a weird dude with some of that shit. But then you just reach a certain age where it doesn't matter what you want. You're going to get looked at funny if you don't, right? Sure. You're going into grade 7 or okay, you got to start wearing some real pants here, kid. Fucking knees blown out of all of them.
The Tyler Rossing then.
I didn't go as long as he did. Fucking Tyler Rossing.
You got to meet.
Oh man, talk about another guy that's just another character.
Oh yeah,
so
he's
much
a
fun
beauty,
around.
man.
Like fuck.
Yeah.
We had so many good guys. Like I always wonder, is this every town has that? Like has all these characters and just
that's
people
what I thought too,
like are just, or are we just really lucky? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like my old town there, I still talk to my buddies down there. And I look at them the same. They're all beauties in my eyes, right? Yeah. So I think it's just each town's got its own.
Yeah, they got their own thing. But that's cool for me too, to have guys like yourself and Drew and all these guys to come on, and over the years, the audience that you grow, for them to get to know like all these influences. These are the people that made me who I became, right?
Yeah,
these are the people I was around in all those formative years, right? Like people probably could listen to a couple episodes of me and you go back and forth and be like, oh, now I see where Nick gets this piece. You know, like, I bet you had to do that with a bunch of people, especially, going to have Ingo on for episode 100. I'm sure people are going to say like, oh, this answers a lot of questions about who this guy is, right? But that's
a good one.
But that's cool to me because I always think, nobody is ever one person. You're an amalgamation of all these different people that you meet over the years, right? Man, and to have the opportunity to, let people in on who I am, but then also to bring on people back to say like, no, this is what formed this. This is what made this fucking monster of a goofball.
This is what added that ingredient.
Yeah. This is where you got the spice. This is where you got the cumin.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, man.
Oh shit! Anything else we didn't hit, or should we fucking wrap her up right there?
Yeah, I think that's probably good there, bud. Definitely be back on.
So. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this quite a few times.
Yeah,
I'm excited to get I think me, you, and Lance gotta do one.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Some of those stories, the
sledding stories would just be tenfold once you get all three of us rolling around.
I mean, I really want to tell that story of the saw to the hand here, but I think we need all three of us. I don't think we can tell that one without Phil Gate.
I think we need Lance to take the brunt of it.
Oh my god!
Yeah, we'll leave you guys at that one. Because,
we'll
something to look forward for.
Yeah, a little taster, hey. Yeah. Oh man, well, thanks again. Like I said, guys like you that have supported me through this. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me doing this. And just thanks for all the years of fun and all the support you've given me. And like you said, we'll be back on here lots. You're going to be one of the crowd favorites. I'm sure.
Hopefully that'd be nice. But I appreciate it, man. Thanks for everything you're doing there too, as well. And
awesome.
Keep her going.
Sounds good. Thanks, bro.
Yeah. Catch you guys later.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I had so much fun recording it that even if you didn't, it doesn't matter because it was so worth it to me. Reminiscing on those stories, having that kind of laughs was such a fun time. Like I said in the intro, can't wait to see who Travis is as a father. I think so highly of him, and I think he's just such a genuinely good person deep down. And I think that is what dictates the love that a child's going to see, and that dictates the life that the child's going to live. And I'm very excited. I think the more people that can bring genuinely loved kids into the world is a good thing and the best thing almost. Like that is the aim that everybody should have. And I'm so excited to see Trav fulfill that. And I know he's going to knock it out of the park. So I'm sure he'll be on a million times in the future as well. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. And I hope you guys are just as excited as I am to have him back on the podcast and get more of those stories rolling, and maybe even get Travis on with a couple of our other buddies and maybe really get some of the real good details of some of these other stories kind of hammered out and brought up maybe over a few drinks or whatever we get up to at that point. So I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please tell a friend, pass it on, share it on any type of social media. Give me a follow. That always helps. Other than that, have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week, whatever it is. And I hope you come check us out on the next one. All right. See you guys. 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 Guys.